I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, April 8th. We are meeting in a hybrid format with some of us here at Casco Bay High School. And I believe Board Member Noor is going to be online tonight. First off, we're going to start with establishment of a quorum and record of attendance. Dr. Warren, would you please call the roll?
Member Ali. Member Yusra Ali.
Here.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Fizzle.
Member Bryden.
Here.
Member Lena.
Present.
Member Noor. Member Opperman.
Here.
Student Representative Fitzgerald.
Here.
Student Representative Kantiba. Student Representative Lee.
Here.
Student Representative O'Brien. Student Representative Ziegler. Chair Lentz.
Present. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqey or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or people of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. And tonight, Board Member Lena is going to be reading our mission and our definition of equity.
Our mission. The Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup.
Thank you, Board Member Lena. So tonight, during our meeting, we're going to start off, we have a budget hearing. So there will be an opportunity to give public comment directly related to the budget. Then we will have regular public comment, which is any item that's not on the agenda, we can have public comment for. And I know that there are several people in the audience here to give public comment about the calendar. The opportunity to give public comment on the calendar and other policy items will be a little bit later on in the agenda, and I'll make it very clear when that section comes up in the agenda, but it will be under old business. So with that, I would like to open up the public hearing for the budget, and I'm going to read out the guidelines for public comment that are upheld for all of our public comment tonight. So members of the public may speak on any subject related to the operations of the schools, except for personnel matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which shall be addressed through established policies and procedures. If an item is on the agenda, please use the public comment time associated with that item. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes or 6 minutes for individuals using an interpreter to make their comment. Individuals may not relinquish a portion of their allotted time to another speaker. The board may not respond to comments, and please refrain from responding in the audience. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disruptive conduct, including but not limited to using vulgar and/or obscene language, threatening others using words or by other actions, using pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or a group on the basis of their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor, making defamatory comments, exceeding the allotted time limits, taking over or interrupting others, offering repetitive comments, and offering comment on matters unrelated to the school district's programs, policies, or operations. I will stop any public comment that is contrary to these rules. To give public comment, please come forward to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Start by introducing yourself with your name and address. We'll alternate if needed between Zoom and in person. I will keep the time and raise a yellow folder indicating that you have 30 seconds remaining, and raise a red folder signifying the end of your time. If you get to the end of your time and would like to request more time, you may do so. So with that, we're going to be starting with the budget. Any public comment that is related to the budget. So I'm going to look online. You can raise your Zoom hand. If you'd like to give public comment on the budget, you can come forward to the podium.
Stephen Scharf of Brackett Street, Portland. I have several comments about the budget. First thing is you'll be receiving a presentation from the superintendent later about details of the budget changes, et cetera. And so I'm very don't quite understand why you take the budget comments public hearing prior to that at the beginning of the meeting. It really should happen after the superintendent has made any presentation to you on the budget, so that the public can comment more clearly on what has been presented as your document. That said, there are some things that I can speak to specifically. The school budget is $171 million and change. You know that. I'm saying that for the general public on TV so that they know what it's being referred to. It is a $10 million increase in the budget, and I think it's a 9.6 or so $1 million increase in the tax burden as it stands, and you will be asked today to amend that budget in some way because of medical cost increases that you will be told about. I assume you all know about this already, I do applaud the fact that it's not as dire as the superintendent had said it might be. But that be that as it may, it is an increase and unplanned, and means additional $500,000. No, 900. Can't remember what the number is. 900,000 additional. You need to find that money somewhere. But to begin with, the budget really is too high. The enrollment numbers show that you have an enrollment October 1st of this year, or 2024, of 626, I believe it was, and you're projecting an enrollment of 6470. That's a significant decrease in the numbers, and especially in the high school, where you're projecting over 120 kids less students, and you should be able to find some places for reductions in your budget, reductions in the increase. I want to make very clear, reductions in the increase, not a cut in your budget. There is nobody talking about cutting the school budget. We're talking about reductions in the increase. Three key areas that you can look at. Cliff Island School. Can I ask for more time, please?
Yes, go ahead. Another 30 seconds.
Cliff Island School, $172,000. You could easily be transporting those kids to Chebeague Island and let Chebeague Island educate them. You definitely need to explore taxis. 2 kids, $172,000 for 2 kids. It makes absolutely no sense that we're educating them on Cliff Island. We pay for the Foundation for Public Schools. We pay for the executive director.
Time, Stephen, do you want to name your third point and then close up?
Yep. That makes no sense. We pay for that. And also for the PA president. Makes no sense that we're paying for either of those 2 items. So that's what I have for you tonight. I wish I had more time to tell you more about what you should be cutting, but that's what I've got. Thanks.
Thank you. Coming up. Yep.
Hello, Carrie Dowdy, Portland Education Association. I have multiple comments, but I will go just budget now, and I'll come back. My budget comment to the school board tonight is to proceed slowly this evening as you engage in final debate and consideration over adding additional line items back into the budget before sending it forward to the city council, as we are in the middle of negotiating our largest educator contract and have not come to an agreement on salary or a full understanding of the rising cost of healthcare premiums. Additionally, on the other hand, the Portland Education Association fully supports additional debate regarding the addition of non-student facing positions while we lose some core instruction teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back. My name's Nicola Wales. I'm a resident of the city. I live off Chesley Ave. Oh man, where to get started? So I'm not really here tonight to necessarily speak to you all because in my experience, that really goes absolutely nowhere. So I'm taking the opportunity to speak to either my coworkers or the rest of the tax-paying citizens of this amazing city. Zero transparency here, but you guys want more of our money. Let me focus on something real quick here. We have an $881,000 increase in salary for 50 people in IT, finance, communications, facilities, and the superintendent's office. For reference, Lincoln, Lyman, and King increase in regular pay is an average of 2%, for a total of $317,000. We've got 80 plus staff at Lincoln, but 50 people in 5 groups, $881,000. Superintendent's office, $175,000. Seriously? My school doesn't have really hot water, but we are pinching pennies to find a new one? My school is falling apart. We have nothing that we're getting in this budget from you guys. It's ridiculous, right? Every year it's a 3%, 4%, 5% increase. It's little chunks. What is that getting Lincoln? I'll tell you, it's nothing. Again, the staff and students are doing amazing work in a building that is in disrepair. It's forgotten. Because I don't know if you guys don't know what you want to do with it, and you're just kind of letting it fall apart. We don't have enough bus drivers to run routes this week, and we're cutting bus driver positions. But again, $881,000 to the superintendent's office or to the district. Again, the same office that has failed to tell the parents of the students of my school that their kids went over 4.5 months without instruction. And that letter you sent in March mentioning we had a sub mentioned nothing about not learning, but you want to ask those people for more money? Are we seriously? That just the audacity of the people in front of me is ridiculous. Ridiculous. You guys do not care if kids don't learn. You don't. I've got 50 pages of emails and meeting transcripts that show you don't care, but you want the money. It's shameful. And again, great decisions to just keep kicking money up top to the people who oversee what's going on here and don't care. They just get angry. And what do you guys do? Nothing. You just want to give them a raise. The people of this city deserve better.
Time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room or on Zoom that would like to give public comment as it relates to the budget? All right. So I see no hands and no bodies coming up to the podium. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing for the budget. And with that, open regular public comment. So this would be anything that people want to give public comment on that is not on the agenda. So again, if you're here for the calendar or the equity policy, those things will happen in just a few moments. Let me just check Zoom here.
Well, this is a different one, so I can come up here again, right? Yeah, great. My name is Nico Wales. I live off Chesley Ave. my public comment, since we're allowed to speak about anything, and I'd like to reiterate this because I've asked you, I've asked all of you via email. Still waiting to hear back on that meeting, by the way. The one where I was told that things would get looked into and there were serious questions and that somebody in front of me would get back to me. They never did. I'd love to know what those text messages said that were sent to my boss because I was sitting right there, just sitting. I'd love to know what those text messages said from the superintendent to my boss. I have asked you all for a vote of confidence for the leadership based on how the situation for the 400 kids in my school was handled, and you have not gotten back to me about anything. You promised you would. I have the meeting transcripts showing exactly what was said. Why are none of you getting back to the tax-paying city? You guys were voted in, right? You guys didn't like interview for a job and get hired and you owe nobody anything, right? People voted you in. Bare minimum, check your emails. Bare minimum, if there's an issue, get back. But to sit here and stonewall and to not communicate amongst the entire school board, what's happening is crazy. There's a school board member I spoke to like 2 weeks ago on the phone, had no idea what I was talking about. And that was after meeting with multiple people on the school board. What is being hid? Why is there no transparency? This is crazy. And I come here every time because it's the only way to get across what is happening, because you guys will not take the necessary steps to be transparent to the taxpayers, specifically the parents of the children at my school. That letter you're referencing is not it. Read it. Have you read it? Seriously. We are hiding from a serious issue. There is no accountability. You guys just want to ram through a budget instead of taking care of the kids. Ask the teachers in my school if the matter's resolved. Ask them how things are going. Now, mind you, the kids and the staff in my school are amazing. The work they are doing is amazing. But when you keep putting hurdles in front of them, you're going to set them behind the rest of the group. So again, I kind of chuckle every time I sit there and I listen to your statements on equality and your mission statements. It makes me laugh because you sit here and you wax poetic about equality, but I know when I show you inequality, you don't care. Again, I've got my proof.
Time. Come on up, Carrie.
I'm back. Hi. Carrie Dowdy, Portland Education Association. I have two things. First, I'd like to start by stating that the Portland Education Association aligns with you, the board, and the superintendent, and stands behind trans students and staff. We affirm unequivocally that we stand against all anti-trans discrimination, including any attempts to codify it. And the second thing, I'd also like to give tremendous thanks to Jen Montague, the new Director of Food Service, and what was shared last week at the school board meeting, that the Portland Public Schools is the first school district in Maine to offer halal meals as a daily option for students. That was amazing news. I'm sorry I wasn't here to thank her myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to give general public comment, or online? You can raise your Zoom hand. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. And I just have a couple of quick remarks tonight. And I know that we have a big conversation in front of us about the budget and other policies. So I'm going to keep things brief. First is a reminder that kindergarten registration is open now. So please register your kiddos for kindergarten. And then Secondly, I just wanted to share a couple of things that I'm proud of in the district this week, which is this afternoon, some board members got to go to Deering High School and sit down with students. They were freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and listen to the things that they were proud of and the things that they were challenged by in their school. And there were just a couple of things that came out of that conversation that I wanted to highlight. The first is that universally in this room of about 20 students, they all acknowledged how much they feel like they belong within the Deering High School community, and how even as freshmen when they came in, they felt that so strongly. And then second, they really wanted to acknowledge their educators because they felt like they were getting both high expectations and high support within their community there. And it was just obvious that they had adults who they really trusted there and really felt like they belonged. So just wanted to hold that up as a point of pride. And I think kind of what this board has really been working towards is that kind of environment for all of our students. And then secondly, I'm not sure if folks in the room or listening at home know about Odyssey of the Mind, but it is a really cool program that some parents have set up within the district. And this past weekend, there was a big competition for Odyssey of the Mind. And so in Odyssey of the Mind, there's a team of kids. They get to choose a problem to solve, and without any outside or parental assistance, they have to create an 8-minute performance around the solution. And one of the teams, their problem involved creating a robotic or mechanical animal who could cheer up characters in a story and accomplish 3 tricks on its own. So they create these problems, and the solutions have to be robotic and mechanical and emotional, all of these things. So the kids, they develop a story, created sets and costumes, designed, programmed, and built a mechanical mantis shrimp, which I had to Google, but I saw a picture of it, and it is the most gorgeous cardboard mantis shrimp I've ever seen. Created a sea urchin, music box, etc. The competition also includes a spontaneous problem that requires teamwork and creativity. And the team has to, it's all timed, so they have to respond in the moment using their skills. And they practice up into these competitions. But we had incredible success across all of our teams that participated, and I just wanted to acknowledge them. So at Row, we had a technical team Division I third place award. We had a classics team Division I third place, and we had a structure team Division I first place, which I do not understand all the details about this, but it's a big deal. And then Lyseth had teams that were awarded a classics team Division sixth place, and a performance team Division I fifth place. And then a Portland Odyssey Club, which is kids from multiple schools. They had a technical team Division II first place, and that included students from King and Lincoln. Had a classics team Division II first place, which is students from King and Lincoln. A performance Division II fifth place, students from Lincoln, and classics team Division III first place, students from Casco Bay. Talbot Elementary School also has been working on a program. They didn't compete this time, but they have been doing this as well. And these students who got first place awards get invited to Michigan to go to another countrywide competition. So congratulations to all the students participating and all the parents that are parents and families that are supporting them. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our student for a report of the student. We have Zach, Student Representative Lee from Deering. Take it away, Zach.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes. So good evening, board. This week marks the first week of our final quarter at Deering High School. On Thursday and Friday, we had our spring conferences. As always, a great opportunity for dialogue between students, parents, and teachers. In administration news, due to medical reasons, our assistant principal, Miss Knorr, will be on leave for the remainder of the year. Miss Schuweiler is also on leave with her new baby, Silas. In their absence, Mr. Burnap and Miss Lab are assuming the mantle of assistant principals. It's also testing season at Deering, the most magical time of the year. On April 9th, juniors such as myself will be taking the Maine science test. This includes AM Path students. On April 16th, sophomores will take the Reading NWEA, while juniors will take on the SAT. And on April 30th, sophomores will be taking the Math NWEA. When it's not used for testing, Wednesday-long advisories continue to be used for targeted learning, such as career exploration, social-emotional learning, discussions around topics like AI, and test preparation. With graduation around the corner, Deering seniors are entering the home stretch for completion of their capstone projects, with presentations on May 2nd. College acceptances have also been rolling in, and the school is buzzing with excitement as the hard work of this year's senior class has clearly been paying off. Several Deering seniors have been receiving impressive accolades. Khalid Muhammad, who is here, has just received the MPA Principals Award in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the school community as a scholar and athlete. And he serves as president of Deering's Black Student Union, which is the largest affinity club in the state of Maine. Meanwhile, Violet Bloom-Levine, Anja Machado, and Asa Tussing have been named finalists for the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. And in March, Jael Moa was honored with the Spirit of Youth Scholarship by the Rotary Club of Portland. March was a very busy month. On the 28th, Deering hosted our annual STEM Expo with Deering students joining middle school students from Lincoln and Lyman Moore to learn about the exciting world of STEM. We also had our Spirit Week, which got the whole school participating in themed days like Pajama Day, Jersey Day, and Purple and White Day. Throughout the week, students participated in a raffle to raise money for the Rising Rams Scholarship. The festivities culminated in the always entertaining students versus staff basketball game. Additionally, on the 27th, Deering saw excellent participation in our blood drive, spearheaded yet again by senior Asa Tussing, previously mentioned, in partnership with the American Red Cross. Clubs continue to be a vital pillar of the Deering experience. In fact, 2 exciting new clubs were recently added to the roster. Philosophy Club, in which students will discuss and debate philosophical texts and ideas, sort of self-explanatory, and the new Mind Matters Club, founded by junior Avery Stone, which will provide a space for students to discuss mental health. In honor of Earth Day, Deering's Key Club will be dedicating the month of April to fundraising for an environmental service project by having a bottle drive. Numerous boxes and bags will be placed throughout the school, which will be utilized as a place to dispose of plastic bottles and any other redeemable bottles, then brought to the Redemption Center to accumulate the funds. So, in drama news, the Deering players will not be taking spring off this year. Throughout April and May, the club will be hosting a series of workshops culminating in a spring showcase May 30th at 5 p.m. What's really cool about this showcase is that it's very student-led. Some scenes are student-directed and some are student-written, and some are both. Also, if you show up, you may get to see me portray Ed Sheeran, which is fun. But on the topic of drama, last month, the club took our Winter One Act to the Regional Drama Festival at Thornton Academy. Thanks to the amazing team effort by the whole cast and crew, the show was a great success. Juniors Margot Bean, David Thompson, and Charlene Zhang were all received commendations for their outstanding work. On the 19th, Deering hosted the All-City Concert, which demonstrated a great turnout in support of the high school and middle school music programs. We are also, of course, nearing the much-anticipated opening of spring sports on April 17th. Girls lacrosse will host Westbrook, while boys will host Portland in rivalry games. Several Rams have recently garnered impressive athletic distinctions. Shout out to Junior Ellis Wood, who I believe I mentioned in my last one of these, who is the Class A state championship in the mile run, the state champion. The SMAA, Southwestern Maine Activities Association, recently announced
Also, the winners of their Citizenship Award for student athletes, 2 Deering seniors have been honored. The previously mentioned Khalid Mohammed and Maya Landry. Also, Maria Curate, our girls indoor track coach, has been named Class A Maine Coach of the Year, which is very cool. Junior Michael Ray Abita will be going to New England's for wrestling, so yet another accomplishment. And then also the girls swimming co-op program has won the state championship for the 2nd year in a row in a highly impressive winning streak. And on the 25th, you will be able to catch the first game of the new softball co-op team named the Phoenix, which I think is a cool, creative name. So to conclude, things are busy at Deering, and we're entering the home stretch of the year. There's a lot ahead, but we're up to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Student Representative Lee. Does anybody have questions? Yes, Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Student Representative Lee, so much. It was just so great to listen to. So much going on. I'm so curious, though, who won the basketball game, students or staff?
See, we were discussing this at the meeting at Deering earlier. We ran out of time before the game finished.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a tie, but
Is there anyone in the audience that might have something to add? Yeah, Khalid, do you want to come up to the speaker? I'm breaking all the rules right now, but we got to find the answer to this.
So I'm Khalid. I'm the student body president at Deering, and what I can say is we had 4 separate games: freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. The senior game we were winning until the time ran out. No, we still won, but the game wasn't over, so it doesn't count. The juniors destroyed the staff. The sophomores were hot with threes, and the freshmen, they were also hot. So the staff did lose. So I'm just saying.
Thank you for setting
you.
the record straight to everyone. Many appreciations.
Thank
for
you,
that.
Chair.
Any other questions? I just really appreciate all of the student updates this year are just so informative and entertaining and make me incredibly proud. And I think you should consider doing a podcast. I would really listen to you talk about most things. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your work on that. That's great. And now we have our secondary schools update. Dr. Ahmed? Sorry, do you want to?
No.
Did I skip you? I did. Oh, Dr. Ahmed, I'm so sorry. I skipped the superintendent. So please walk backwards. I'm sorry.
No, my good evening, everybody. My comments were particular to protest the fact that I speak after the student reps,
Yes.
which I think is unfair. And then I will reserve my specific comments to each of the items that come up. So I'll be speaking about the calendar, the equity policy, and the budget when they come up.
Beautiful.
And so I'd like to welcome up Dr. Ahmed.
The presentation be loading in our Google Doc.
I think if you
We don't have that present.
refresh.
We just refresh.
Yeah, it is in the board doc.
Good evening. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Schools. And tonight, I will be
Ahmed.
presenting...
Can you hold on one second?
Yes. Yeah.
When they loaded the content, they loaded it in administrative, not in the public side. So let me just pull it down so people can see it.
Okay.
That are following along. So give me 1 second. Members of the board can see it because they can have access to the administrative content. Great. Now, for folks who are watching at home who can't see it on the screen or board members, you can see it in the public content. Sorry about that.
Thanks. So tonight, we have a short yet very important secondary schools update. It is a highlight. It is about the student summit that we had. So on March 25th, we had a day-long student summit organized by secondary schools and network team with the leadership of Director of Secondary Innovation and Outcomes, Ms. Pamela Otunu Thompson, who organized the summit. the diverse teams of people were represented in that meeting or in that summit. Superintendent Fiscal, myself, network team members, school leadership, students, teachers, social workers, and school counselors and other educators were present in the summit. The purpose of the summit was to create opportunities for students to connect with peers, to share experiences, adults to observe, listen, and record the students' feedback. Adults and the students get the opportunity together to explore effective collaboration and co-design strategies. The summit, over 90 students were invited. Some highlights of the summit were importance of belonging, adult-student relationship, elevation of student voice. The students who participated expressed that they would like to remain involved in this type of work. We are analyzing the data and the input of the students, and we will share the recommendations. And of course, it will be informing the planning and the leadership team discussions at the district level. So that's the short update from the secondary schools. And if there are any questions,
What questions do board members or student representatives have about the summit? Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I just want to know, what's the most comment or attitude on the interaction than the student just, brought to the conversation on the classroom interacting and with their own peers and with the staff? So what's the most on the broader picture? What did you notice?
Yeah, so there was a lot of actually input from the students. Some of them were like appreciation of what is going on and highlights of what strengths we have and we can build on. Others were things that really and some of the actually board members here, student representatives were part of this. Some of them were like things that we will say, we never thought about it. Why not? It's good ideas. So, but the input now is under, review and analysis, and we will be sharing the after synthesis of the input. But one of the highlights and at the end of the summit, and this will be building bonds and trust. Sometimes in many traditions comes with also sharing a bread. So that was also highlighted, one of them. But we are the input is under review, and we will share when we have the recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Or any of the student representatives that attended? If you wanted to speak to your experience, you certainly could.
I enjoyed it. I would say that definitely getting students involved in both facilitating and being part of the conversations is important, because of that, immersive experience. I was one of the facilitators, and because I was a student who was also experiencing what the other students were talking about, it definitely made what they were saying more digestible. And so I also think that students should be part of the data analysis process because of that, but I'm not quite sure how that would work. But I also did find it a very enriching experience.
Thank you, Student Representative Fitzgerald. Any other questions from the board? Okay, let me just double check that we don't have any on Zoom. Okay. We see none. Well, thank you, Dr. Ahmed, and we look forward to hearing the results and the things that you distill out of that experience.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, so up next, we have the report of the secretary. We have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of March 8th. No, that's not the right, of April 1st, 2025. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes from April 1st, 2025? Okay, seeing none, then the minutes are approved as distributed. And now we're going to move into new business. And just recognizing how many folks are in the room, we're going to flip this order around. So we're going to start with the calendar, and then we will go to the equity policy and then to the budget. So up first tonight, we have the consideration and action to approve the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Is there a motion for this? Oh, actually, do you want to speak to the motion first?
Good evening, Chair. I'll speak to the motion.
Yeah. Apologies, I jumped ahead of myself.
No problem. Tonight, I'm very pleased to bring this proposed new calendar to the board for a vote. Like the addition of halal meals to our school lunch menu, this calendar seeks to honor, celebrate, and to be responsive to the rich diversity of cultural and religious communities that make up our Portland Public Schools family. Both initiatives are examples of how we seek to bring our community to equity to life in ways that are tangible and meaningful. Yom Kippur and Eid al-Fitr are among the most important holidays in the Jewish and Muslim faiths. While we would like to be able to include even more holidays in our calendar, including these two especially significant days recognizes their importance to many of our staff and students, while also providing an opportunity for the whole community to learn more about the faith traditions from which they may be less familiar. I do want to note as well that these 2 days are being added where we are exchanging for days that were otherwise used as to make long weekends. And so it feels especially important that we are using it to recognize staff and students and families in our community. I'm also excited that this initial push for this calendar came from our own students at Deering High School. I applaud them for their leadership, their advocacy, and their partnership in helping bring this proposal to fruition. The response to the calendar from our community has been overwhelmingly positive, reflecting the power of our shared commitment to ensuring that all members of the Portland Public Schools community feel seen, heard, and valued.
And Dr. Warren, were you going to add anything?
Only that I can project the calendar if you would like me to.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful if we could get that up on the overhead. And in the meantime, I'd be looking for a motion for the consideration and action to approve the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Are there any questions from the board about this motion or the calendar? And actually, we'll hold there just until we get it up. Oh, perfect. Yeah, the questions for the,
Yes,
Mr. Hondo, go ahead.
Yes, I would like just the superintendent to clarify the costs of those 2 days, where we're going to find those
Yep.
amounts, please.
So the 2 calendar days that are proposed are both recognizing that they'd be holidays. And so for our staff that otherwise wouldn't work those 2 days, which are our education technicians and our base school year employees, they would get paid for this. The cost per day is $65,000. And what you will see in the superintendent comments tonight on the budget, we are proposing that there is reductions in other areas that could cover that cost.
Follow up?
Yeah, I just need a follow-up. So that's going to be, because under the new proposal, those reductions going to be just for this year. I just want to make sure, or it's going to be a continuation of the years.
We would then include the costs into future years.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Board Member Ali.
Okay, so that was my first question. And then my second question is that Eid and Yom Kippur fall on not the same day each year. So how are we going to make sure that, you know, we are planning which day it's going to be and be accurate? Because I know it can be really hard.
Yeah. Dr. Warren, do you want to respond?
So we are learning from our colleagues in Lewiston on this one, where they have designed it so that essentially it's being treated almost like a snow day. So we have the projected date, but if something changes at the last minute, we have the flexibility to move it. For this year, with the Eid holiday, It happened to be that the estimated or anticipated day fell on a Friday. And so we scheduled a professional development day for the day before that on a Thursday. And if it were to happen that instead Eid was to fall on that Thursday, we would recognize the holiday on Thursday and move the PD day to Friday. So we've kind of given ourselves a little bit of flexibility there on that one. And then for future years, we'll have to just, figure out what the estimated days are and plan accordingly.
Board Member Ali, go ahead.
So I have a question based on, is it this calendar only that we're going to be voting on, or is there a hope that we're going to keep those two holidays in continuous calendars moving forward?
So we actually looked at this from a question of a policy as well, and it was determined that it wasn't necessary to make a policy change on this. The hope is that it would continue on. And so it is not just for 1 year, but that going forward, our calendar would include these holidays.
And the policy on calendars is that we approve a calendar every year. The board does.
So we actually approve all holidays. Is that something we do?
We approve the whole calendar.
Okay.
So whatever's embodied in that calendar is what we approve.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions about this calendar? Okay, then.
Carolyn, I'm sorry. I wanted to note for the board and for the public that we had to do a little bit of cleaning up. There weren't substantive changes, but just in case people are noticing any differences, we did things like calling out Patriots Day, which wasn't specified. It was always there, but it falls during the school break. So we did things like that just to clarify. We cleaned up some typos, tried to make it easier to read. But the substance of the calendar is the same as what was presented on the first.
Thank you so much, Dr. Warren. I do think that the readability of this calendar is really great and easy to follow along with, and I really appreciate all the school information on the right-hand side. I think it's going to be a great tool for the community. So I would like to move into public comment if there are no other questions from the board or student representatives. Beautiful. So if you would like to give public comment, you can come up to the microphone, or you can raise your hand in Zoom.
Good evening, Chair Lenz, Superintendent Scallion, and honorable members of the Portland Board of Education. My name is Pius Ali. I live at 184 Pearl Street. I have previously served on this board and currently serve as a city councillor. However, I am here in my personal capacity as someone who have lived and worked in this community with families and students in many different capacities. I will strongly encourage you to pass this calendar as presented. Portland's strength lies in its diversity, and our school calendar should reflect that. These holidays hold deep and strong religious and cultural significance for our Jewish and Muslim students. No child should have to pick between their religious holidays and their education. Recognizing these holidays ensures that all students feel valued, included, and supported in their learning environment. Many districts, including Lewiston, have already made this change, and it is time for Portland to do the same. This decision is about equity, respect, and fairness. I urge the board to take this step towards more inclusive school system. Thank you for your service, your leadership, and the work that you do to make the schools welcoming and our city welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Hello, my name is Khalid Mohammed. I'm a senior at Deering High School. I'm also the Black Student Union president and the student body president that was mentioned earlier. As a student who's involved in AP classes and extracurriculars and sports, I would say through my experience of having Eid on a school day and having to miss school, I have been set behind on days, missing hours of sleep, And from time to time, when I can't make up those days of school hours, I do get set behind, and that does affect my GPA and etc. Can I also ask a question by chance?
You can. I can make an exception to answer you if it feels appropriate.
I was wondering, with the calendar change, will we only be acknowledging one Eid or both Eids?
One Eid in this year's calendar.
Can we get a reason, or is it just...
Yes, so I'm happy to speak to this, and I'll just pause your time because I've heard this question from a lot of people. So I think the attempt in this calendar is to move towards including all major holidays from the holidays that our students celebrate, but we can't get there all the way yet. So, we chose one high holiday from Judaism and one high holiday from the Muslim religion, and I think that after we get feedback, we can see what we can do in future years, but this is an attempt to move us in the right direction.
So it's not just the Islamic holidays getting one, it's just each...
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I will say that the Christian holidays that are typically in the school calendars across the United States still are there, although some have been removed.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can continue if you like.
No, that is all. It's just how having to miss a school day because of religious beliefs is extremely draining the following couple days of trying to catch up. And for those who do take AP classes and early college classes, it is draining. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Safa Mohammed, a sophomore at Deering High School, and this young lady beside
Could you lean into the microphone just so we can hear?
Is this good?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Safa Mohammed, a sophomore at Deering High School, and this young lady besides me is Siham Deko, and we represent Deering's Muslim High Student Association. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to this process. MSA gives special thanks to Dr. Warren, Ms. Noor, and most of all, our advisor, Mr. Ibrahim. They have elevated our voices here so that we discuss this issue before the school board today. Eid on the calendar means more than a day off for us. It means our recognition in our respective schools, it means our recognition in the district, and it means our recognition in the Portland community as a whole, to which we are integral. I recall that as I walked about during Ramadan, my Muslim peers grieved the absence of Eid on the school calendar. I recall that as I told them the school board would consider it, their faces lit up with joy. I recall as Dr. Warren invited me to represent MSA before the school board, I felt determined to make the dreams of many a reality. Approving this simple decision marks a monumentous day in the Muslim community, so I ask all of you today to consider voting yes for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm back again. I don't think I'm gonna stop this.
Could you introduce yourself?
I always forget that. I just came from work last time, the same thing. My name is Maza Mohammed, and I work for healthcare department, and we are very happy. We did celebrate today Eid at the hospital for the first time, and this is basically the third time. We did accomplish at the hospital after 100 something years later. We pray Friday prayer at the hospital. So Islam is rising, and Islam is peace. So we need to be accomplished. I understand you ask, it's gonna cost about $65,000. So this $65,000 for one holiday and to the other holiday, just for one day, we are paying $65,000. I'm not too sure about that one.
For each, 65 for each day.
For each days. So now we are celebrating two holidays. We don't have 3 or 4. We're just doing that's a month of Ramadan. Everybody's fasting. Which one are we going to pick to be celebrated? Is that the Eid after Ramadan?
Yes.
After Ramadan. Okay. So that is really very important for everybody in there because they fast. And then after that, there is a transition. It's for them to celebrate that Eid. And so for them to miss that school, I was like dragging my daughter to finish it up her homework until 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, you got to get it done and wake me up when you're done. So she was up until 1 or 1:30. So I don't think it is fair for us to suffer. and for our children to make up those. And it's really important for us to have that holiday. It's very important. So before about, I don't know how many minutes I have left, but when I came to Maine, we were a few of us. Right now, we are rising, and we have a lot of reverts. Not only that, so people, we are like 4,000 people last time when we celebrate Eid. We didn't have a place because we broke the record in there. So the fire department was not happy with us. So all that stuff in there. So because we are a number of us, so let's celebrate that Eid. Let's make it mandatory. It's not a choice, please. And then we can celebrate that for our kids.
Thank you.
Good evening to member of the board and community. My name is Saif Rahman Amini.
Get a little bit closer to the microphone. There you go.
My name is Saif Rahman Amini. I'm here to say a few words about the identity. Identity, Islam is part of our identity. Identity is very important in our psychology, especially when we get to age of later on in 40s. This is the time everybody think who I am. If we don't have our identity and do not nourish that identity, which Islam is part of our identity, then that raises a lot of psychological problem, a lot of depression, suicide, all these unlawful things coming with it. On another hand, with somebody raised with their identity, they have energy, productive life, good family, good community, help to everybody, to themselves and the whole community. So therefore, I insist and to have respected, which I heard already you folks talk about it, and that will be approved. You're doing a good job in this matter. You're not only helping, you're helping the whole community. And we are part of this community. And we hold the weight, the advancement, everything in this community. If there is a group of people don't have that energy and stay behind, it will affect the whole community. So that is very important, good decision. I appreciate that this will be very good for the whole community. And I heard it's still a little behind. It should be done long ago. Because we always talk about productive life, but we don't know we are hurting ourselves by not recognizing a minority, which it did help. Thank you very much for helping and promoting that matter, and appreciate.
Thank you.
Hello, board. My name is Tyler Jellison. I teach at Deering, and I've taught in Portland schools since 2012. Each year in my classroom on Eid, I do not teach any new material. This is a revision day because I do not want to put any students behind. Though it's a revision day, the students who are Muslim don't get to revise their work. So overall, it feels like a wasted educational day for all students in Portland Public Schools. Additionally, my understanding is that my Muslim colleagues are asked to take a personal day. We are given 2 personal days a year, so they have 1 less than myself. And if Portland Public School truly believes in equity, this schedule is a key step in moving those goals forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the board of school and the superintendent and everyone who attended today. I don't want to say too much, but I want to thank you all for working this out. And I am very sure through the process, a lot of you learned, something through it. I wanted to emphasize the experience of students. I have been a parent of Portland Public Schools for the last 11 years, and I will be in the next 10, I hope. The student to choose between missing important schoolwork or missing your holiday, has been and always is very difficult, emotionally difficult, academically difficult, and this will be one step to alleviate that difficulty, and I appreciate all the work that has been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to give comment on the calendar?
Stephen Schaff, Brackett Street. I actually want to speak to other pieces of the calendar. First, I actually like the calendar looks very much cleaned up, but it does have something that I thought you had eliminated all the half days. It looks like you've sort of eliminated them, but you've actually taken them out of the calendar so that people don't see that they're sort of still there. I'm not quite sure why we still have half days or partial days in school should happen from X to Y, and there shouldn't be any reason to do partial days. I don't think you really get a lot accomplished by the teachers in that time period when you're not there. I'd like to hear somewhat of an explanation on the snow days, because they referenced there as tentative snow days, and it's in my growing up and etc. is that snow days were somehow built into the calendar and only needed if you exceeded a number of snow days that they estimated. So I would like to understand how that works in this calendar. And the one last thing is, I applaud this board and the schools for starting school after Labor Day. The concept of moving school starts to before Labor Day made no sense at all. And the fact that you've moved it back after Labor Day, I think last year, is a move in the right direction. And my only other question about that is, there are 2 days marked out there as start of school, and what are the differences of those two blue days that are referenced as the start of school? Thanks.
Thank you. And just to answer that last question, one is the start of first grade on, and then pre-K and K is the second day. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay. Coming up.
I'm Sadia Ali, and an employee of Portland Schools.
I'm Miss Ali, employee of Portland Public Schools. I'm Muna Ali, Portland Public School, employee, parent, community person. Dear members of the board, I hope this letter finds you as well. I am writing on behalf of myself and many families within our school community to respectfully request that the district recognize this Eid and put it in the school calendar and the school holidays. These holidays hold deep religious and culturally significant for Muslim families, just as schools close for major Christian or Jewish holidays to allow families to observe their tradition without academic penalty or disruption. It is both equitable and respectful to extend the same recognition to Muslim students, staff. In recent years, there are so many students and staff members in our district that have celebrated Eid, which means we have to call out, we have to find someone to cover our spot, which means kids are not going to be with the same person they normally would meet on a daily basis, especially if you're in 101 or 201. So I just feel like if we don't take this consideration, it's kind of unfair and a disadvantage. Data, already shows spikes in absentees in schools. What kids are out to celebrate this, which indicate obviously the instruction is naturally impacted and disrupted. Moreover, several schools districts across the U.S., including New York City Public Schools, Montgomery, Michigan, and New Jersey, all have recognized Eid as an official holiday. This reflects as a growing understanding of the value of inclusivity and the cultural responsiveness in education. I guess we believe that honoring Eid, that the day off not only aligns with our district stated values on diversity and equity, but also fosters a sense of belonging amongst all students in the first place. So it is a meaningful way that you guys can show those kids that every culture matters and every child's identity, obviously, is respected in this form. So we will be happy to work collaboratively with the district to find scheduling in any way we can, solutions, and accommodate this request. Moving forward. Thank you so much for the consideration, and I hope everything works out for everyone involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment on the calendar? Come on up.
I'm Micah Smith-Kahn. I'm a speech language pathologist and a mother of two. I grew up in the Portland area and I recently moved back, and I'm so happy to see how much more diverse it is today than it was when I left, especially the fact that there are many more Muslims than there used to be. Eid is like the equivalent of Christmas. It's the biggest holiday in the Muslim calendar. And in order to be fair and value diversity in practice, it's really important to give students, staff, and teachers a chance to celebrate and practice their religion. Additionally, many Muslims go shopping for new clothes and buy gifts and special food for Eid. So having the day off boosts the local economy by allowing people the day off to shop in addition to attending Eid prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we have one more.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, German school superintendent and school board in general. My name is Muhammad. I live in 250 Spring Street. I have been living in this city for almost 20 years, and I'm parent. My kids go to the Portland public schools too. So one of the questions I don't have answer was that when my kid is asking me why we going to school, we have holiday, and then still we need to go to school, and then we need to ask for the school to look back for our absentees because of the religious holiday we have, and school doesn't recognize it. One of the sadness also was that when the holiday happened on Saturday or Sunday, and then they say, okay, Monday we're going back to school. So what is the benefit of the of the holiday we have? So I hope the board and the other community members and will approve this holiday. So one step forward. Inshallah, the other holiday will be coming again soon, I hope. So thank you so much for considering for inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mahdi Abdullah. I live in Portland, and also I work for Portland Schools Multilingual Center. And is this just for people who has comment, or I can ask question?
You can ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, we know Muslims celebrate Eid, but also there is other people who don't believe our religion. So my question is this all school buildings will be closed, or just will be holiday for special Muslim?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this would close the district. every building would be closed in the same ways that we close for Christmas or Indigenous Peoples' Day. The whole district would be closed.
Thank you. I just want to be clarified. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Okay, anyone else? Oh, we're going to get to discussion in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. I'm just very grateful for everyone that was here to speak. And now I'm going to open it up to board discussion. So Student Representative Fitzgerald, go ahead.
Yeah, I also am very excited for this calendar to hopefully be approved because I think that the benefits of having Eid in the calendar, starting with like pre-K kids or first graders, it will really include Eid in their like landscape and their day-to-day thinking and their like yearly thinking, and this will actually create the change that I believe that we need to include and provide equal opportunity to all students. It's really making these cultural and religious holidays and other practices come to the forefront of everybody's minds as a respectable and a valuable, I guess, and meaningful thing to be recognizing. And so I'm really excited to see the outcome of this calendar and also the halal food that will be implemented in the cafeterias. I also think that that's a very good step in the right direction. So, yeah.
Thank you for your comments, Student Representative Fitzgerald. Is there any other board discussion? Board Member Opperman?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with you. And I'm pleased that Yom Kippur is also on the list. I also think that as we increase our awareness of and observe very strict religious holidays, the awareness of all of the other cultures in the school and among our faculties and staff, for people who are from the East, from Asia, and all that have holidays that they are small in number, but we should respect them. And I think teachers keep into consideration on that part too for those individuals.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Board Member Ali.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Chair, apologies. No, I just want to say thank you, everyone who came and supported this. One of the discussions that we've had before is about fasting all 30 days, regardless if you were a student or not, and taking exams, especially at the university and whatnot. And then also Tarawih, which is like the night prayers that we do after like it's completely dark outside. So it would start probably around 8, 9, maybe 10. It would be like 2 hours sometimes. And then there's Tahajjud, which is the last 10 nights. So not only do we pray that, like then we also pray like 2 or 3 a.m. You feel me? So all that, and then Eid was like kind of the relaxation, the celebration. Finally, we got through it, and it's like a huge celebration. So I just want to put that out there and thank everybody that came here and everybody on the board that's been working on this.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion from the board? This would also be the time if board members had amendments to bring to the floor. This is when we would do that. I am really happy to support this motion tonight. I think for those of us that have been on the board for some time, this has been a conversation point for a really long time. And I just also want to thank the process that happened around this. I think it really involved a lot of community input, student input, and we really worked together through several iterations to find a better product that worked for a lot of folks. So I just think that this is a really great, upholding the process that was around this calendar as well. I just appreciate that. And I would just be looking for any other board discussion before we move to a vote.
Chairless Member Noor seems to have her hand.
Thank you for catching that. Board Member Noor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person today, but I did just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who showed up in support today of this calendar and everyone who made this happen. This is truly a really big step for us, and it's a step forward in equity and inclusivity. And I really believe that students shouldn't have to choose between religious holidays and school. And I would really like to encourage my fellow board members to vote yes on this calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Noor. And with that, I think we're going to move into a roll call vote. So please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba?
Yes.
Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler? Chair Lentz?
Yes, then that motion is approved unanimously with the students voting with the board. So congratulations, everyone. We've got a new calendar.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And there's the former school board member, Yusuf in the back of the room. Just want to acknowledge him. Okay, so now it's 7:19. Let's go ahead. We're going to move into the equity policy. After equity, we will take a break and then come back for a budget. Superintendent, do you want to speak to policy ACA?
Yes. You want to take a break for a second?
Should we take a break now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Unequivocally, we will break now. Let's come back at 7:30. And that was very celebratory energy in the room, which was lovely to experience. But now we're going to move into some more serious content. So up tonight, we have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACA, which is the equity policy. Superintendent, would you like to speak to this policy?
Yes, please. The proposed changes that we bring to you tonight to our equity policy are designed to clarify and strengthen it in service of our ongoing effort to ensure that every student has the opportunities, challenges, and support they need to grow and thrive in all aspects of their school experience and beyond. The proposed edits ensure that the policy is aligned to the most recent relevant federal judicial rulings and to simplify and clarify policy language to make it more accessible to all. We look forward to working with the board not only to monitor implementation of this policy, but also to continue reflecting on how we can move from policy to action, including how we did that tonight with the advancement of our calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. 1 second here. So the board knows this, but I'm going to offer an amendment when we get to that point. But I think that this may be the first time that this board has gone through an amendment process around a policy. So I just wanted to go over procedurally what that looks like, and then we'll also be using it when we get to the budget. So the main motion, I'll ask for the main motion to come to the floor. So there will be a first and a second. There'll be time for any questions. There'll be time for public comment, and then we'll get into discussion. And it's in discussion that people could bring an amendment to the floor. And then we have a first and a second on an amendment. We do the same process. And then if the amendment passes, then the motion that's on the floor is amended. If the motion does not pass, or if the amendment does not pass, then the motion as intended or as originally brought to the floor stands as is. If you get confused procedurally at any point, just raise your hand and I'm happy to do my best to clarify. Robert's rules is sometimes like speaking in another language. That's how I experience it anyway. So if you find yourself confused, that is a normal reaction. So with that, I'd be looking for a motion for the consideration action to approve changes to policy ACA, the equity policy. Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions from the board on this policy?
What are we voting on? Or what amendment are we voting on right now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so right now, the amended policy that is in board docs is what has come from committee and is what is up for a vote and is the motion on the floor right now. So if there are any questions, yes, Board Member Lena, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My question is under the policy expectations, Section A, staff and capacity building, and then Section A under that. It states that professional development should happen multiple times a year. And I was just wondering if anyone could answer the question, what the expectation really is regarding multiple times a year, if there's a set number, if it's at the discretion of building leaders, et cetera. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And maybe I can just give a tiny bit of context and then Superintendent, if you wanted to jump in. With this policy, so this policy was adopted in 2021, and to my knowledge, it has not been opened up since then. When it was first adopted, there was no frequency that was included in the language or kind of like expectations of frequency. So the addition of multiple times was just to get us someplace, knowing that we're in the process of really intentionally designing a better professional development calendar around equity, and that next year when this is opened again, we could add more specifics. Superintendent Scallon.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have Dr. Warren speak to this and also speak to a little bit of the work we are doing around planning of professional development as it relates overall in the district, as well as where equity embeds both as a support across initiatives as well as on its own.
Thank you. So the detail behind the professional development at this stage really lives within our strategic plan. This is a strategic priority for us, strategic priority 1.1. So for this calendar year, this school year, we set an expectation of 4 professional development sessions, and that's sort of a minimum, not a maximum. For the coming year and beyond, we're currently in the middle of a planning process, working with support from our partners at the Leadership Academy and in close consultation with members of the academic team. We're figuring out what the right sort of cadence and approach is and what we call the arc of learning for the whole training around equity. So at all different levels, district leaders, school leaders, teachers, and other staff at the school level, operational staff. So we're working through a detailed plan, and that will, be rolled out as we work towards our overall professional development plan for next year. I will say this proposed language says multiple, which I think shows the board's interest in and commitment to making sure that this is robust. But typically, the number of trainings would not be something that we would often see in policy. That would more show up in the implementation that's developed, the implementation plan developed by staff.
Do you have any follow-up questions on that? Okay. Beautiful. Any other questions from the board on this policy? Just one thing to point out on letter D, implementation strategies, section A. That should be in red because it's an addition, but we lost the color coding when we converted it to this PDF. So just want to make sure that folks know that that is an addition to the policy. D, implementation strategies, section A. It's about connecting to the state mandates.
Is this what's going to be on the policy book?
Yes.
Okay, so can we have a edit of like when it's B, can we put A, B, B under it? Because it can't, it's just really confusing.
Yes, we can make that as a friendly amendment in just a second that we update the formatting. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so just a second. Is there any public comment on this policy? See no one in the room. I see no hands in Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Is there any general discussion from the board on the whole thing? Board Member Ali.
Yeah, I'm still, as I'm going through it, I have a lot of different points that I'm still grappling with. And I really understand. I do understand the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, and I'm trying my best to identify how this falls into the Harvard law or policy, whatever it was made, or the judge that had clarified that. And And I understand that piece in the hiring or finding, but there are pieces that I think that should still be here. And one of the lines that I was just reading, for example, is humility includes self-reflection in order to address assumptions or biases we may hold about others based on their identities, right? So biases are real. So it's a scientific fact, and it's not based on hiring at this point, but it's just talking about these biases that we may have. And we know that because of the data and because of the evidence that's been proven ever since 2020, that Black students or students of color have been, harmed or have been held accountable way more harder because of bias reasons, right? And also what is it, 20, 30 years ago, they put in police officers in all across the country, and 1 million kids got arrested, majority of them was Black and brown, right? So I really do see that we have to keep the bias from my perspective, but while still trying to have the fine line of following the law,
And so specifically, which section are you referencing, just so the board can follow along with you?
Okay, so it's on page 2. In the middle of page 2, you'll see like a pink. It's pink where it's crossed out. Humility includes. So that in particular, but other pieces that I haven't really dug into, but even E, right? I have dug into, but like this is why I'm bringing it up. E, the 5 abilities of equity literacy, right? It's just understanding, right? And it's like, why are we taking that out? Let's be honest with each other. Like, are we like it's not against the law, right? We're not being pushed to take these things out. And I think that it's just the right thing to do. And regardless of what comes out of it, if it's an illegal thing and it's like from the federal standpoint, then okay, we have to deal with that in the federal part. But this is not, it doesn't align with why we're doing it, I feel like.
So if you would like to make an amendment to bring either of those pieces back, that is what you would do now in this discussion. So this is the last part of this process. So this has been in committee for 2 sessions, and we did a workshop. So this is the last. In the opening of this policy, which should happen annually, this is the point now that if you would like to make revisions, now is the time that you would introduce them to the board.
Yeah. So I would make a revision to on page, but you told me I couldn't make one because there was another one going on.
No. If this is inside, you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so the main motion is on the floor.
Okay.
And if you would like to amend it, you can do so.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to amend it, and to keep the humility, right, piece of the self-reflection, to address assumptions or biases, the 5 abilities of equity literacy, understanding like institutional roots. That's just a fact. Like it's something that we just need to understand how this country was really built. The ability to actively cultivate equity by applying an equity commitment to every decision, and the ability to sustain equity efforts even in the face of discomfort or resistance, as we're dealing with right now.
So let's do one piece at a time as opposed to multi pieces. So the first amendment that I hear you bringing to the floor is to bring back having a stance of cultural humility, which includes self-reflection, that piece on the second page. Is that correct?
Yes, the humility piece. Yeah.
Okay, so to be clear, it's the second page. It is point D in cultural awareness. Board Member Ali is making a motion to amend that section to having it say that last red line sentence to be back in point D. Is there a second on that motion? Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions on that motion? Yes, Yusra. I'm sorry, Board Member Ali.
No, you're good. So I had a question in support to what Member Ali said. So if we are taking like the cultural humility, and then maybe this would be my point later. If you go down at EC, sorry, I don't know how to navigate this, like taking out the abilities to address biases. So then how do we, or how are we going to address biases or discrimination students and educators face if our policy does not specifically state like such actions as a bias or a discrimination?
So the question, this is where procedurally this is going to get tough, especially if you've missed the last couple of meetings, because that was the time to ask these bigger questions. So right now we're only talking about the amendments because this is our first time. I'm going to just like back us up a little bit. So hang in there. So that, I think in other conversations, we've talked about how that is part of the hiring toolkit. And there are other places where, again, the implementation of these things is captured in practice. Go ahead, Board Member Opperman.
I had a question and potentially a friendly amendment. Understanding the humility includes reflection. And I wondered if the term humility, self-reflection in the sentence just prior to that that's in red, self-reflection and is a part of having cultural awareness and humility, and to put it in there in that piece.
Yeah.
It's just a smaller way. I don't know if it goes against people's beliefs.
So you would be offering a friendly amendment?
Yeah, to basically, his amendment was to put the whole sentence back in. I'm just saying, how about putting the word humility in the previous sentence as grammatically appropriate?
Yeah.
So having the title be cultural humility and awareness?
No.
Okay.
No.
Say it again.
No, cultural awareness stays there as the title.
Yeah.
The last sentence, because the humility includes self-reflection, and just to say self-reflection and humility are a key part of cultural awareness. So
Okay. So
added there, but it's not in the title.
Would you accept that friendly
Absolutely,
amendment?
it's good.
Okay.
But and biases are the term bias is still going to be in there. So yes,
Okay, so it isn't in there now.
it is in there.
So where's
bias?
So if the friendly amendment was to say self-reflection and humility are key parts of having cultural awareness.
Which is the sentence just above where you were talking about.
And
But right.
Board Member Ali, I'm hearing that you still want to have bias.
No, yeah, because this is the thing. You can have self-reflection, right? And having a key part of you just see it. Awareness is just seeing it, right? And that's what we've been doing. And I think that the biases have to exist because bias is literally the reason why people have a motive in the first place.
Yeah. And I think it's less about why right now and how do you want to change it?
Okay, well, I'm okay with that. I would keep it the same probably, or because I thought it was self-reflection includes humility in order to address assumptions or biases we hold about others based on their identity. I thought that's what the amendment was about. But if
Can I try again?
yeah,
Okay. How about something along the lines that self-reflection is key, and culture and humility are a key part of having cultural awareness and an understanding of bias. Something along that. That didn't sound good. I don't know if that's the right wording.
I mean,
Board Member Bryden, you want to get in here with a friendly amendment?
No, I have a question. Are we still taking questions on the motion to amend the motion?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'm tracking, I think, where we are. So I have two questions. Chair, please tell me if this is not the right time for these questions or if I'm not posing them to the correct people. So my first question would be of members of the Policy and Curriculum Committee, if it's possible to have somebody speak to the thinking behind, because I know that my understanding is that there was like a painstaking process to get to the words that we're looking at. And then my other question would be for Board Member Ali, to get a better sense of what specifically about this subparagraph D feels, or I want to better understand the words that are on the screen right now and the gap in terms of like what you're looking to address, not only in just recognizing that this is a policy, and my understanding is that the policy is essentially designed to guide what we're doing as a district. So those two components would be really helpful for me.
So the first component was which one again?
Well, the first one was for people on the policy and anybody on the policy and curriculum committee to talk about. Yeah, right, exactly. To talk about how, how we landed at this particular set of words.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, could I speak? Just Member Bryden, in the conversation and in simplifying language, the intent, the thought was that sentence was repetitive, okay, of what was above. And, but I understand the concern about the word bias particularly is Member Ali's thought. And I'm going to try again with a sentence and see if this I wrote it down so it helps a little bit in thinking about it. Am I answering your question? I'm sorry, I'm out of order.
You're not. You're okay.
Okay.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm
sure.
You sure? Sure?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Could I also respond to the reason
Yes.
that those words are what they are?
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
I think one thing that I have heard in conversations with people around the district about equity is that people don't fully understand what cultural humility means. And I think it is like a pretty nuanced term that we use in this district. And so the idea here was to give more specifics about what it meant and make it a word that had more entry points. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you want to answer the second part of Board Member Bryden's
you're
question?
asking why?
Yeah, I want to better understand what the gap is between what, like the functionally, like I understand the importance of the word bias for sure, but I want to just better understand
The functionality of the terms and everything.
the functionality of so if in committee, the paragraph didn't land right exactly where you wanted it to be, what can you talk about the gap between what it looks like now and where you
Oh
like
no,
to go?
it's not even that. It's like it's more of it was just we've had this conversation in behind closed doors too, and it was more of something that's given to us, and it's like okay, we have to review this, we have to, but it was it was more of a quick thing, and I should have said something, and I should have said it even at the last policy meeting, and it was more focused for me. It was more focused on the calendar and whatnot. But the thing is that, like, after reflecting, after reading people's comments that the emails came in, it just brought back the point of like me speaking up on exactly how I should feel, right? How I feel rather than how the speed of the board is going, right? So with all due respect, like, I think that I'm not doing justice for like the people that are requiring it or deserve it or requesting it, right? So in understanding that, it's not about to give you anybody else more work. I'll be more than happy to actually type it all up this time. But it's more about, are we actually being effective? If we're gonna write something equitable, why are we gonna be effective with it? You know what I'm saying? And making sure that there are no biases, there are no passive aggression. There is these type of language, right, that exists, so we really don't go backwards. So we don't, because I don't think it's going to change today. But the thing is that if we move this over, it's going to change in 3 or 4 years of policy. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that I'm not trying to move out of fear because of statements made by, but from a governmental standpoint, from a law standpoint, the only thing you can't do is to hire based on race and culture. I get that. Everything else just holds it upon, you know what I'm saying? Like it holds it upon like the biases and the race, and the discrimination against other people.
Board Member Opperman?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And you're speaking not just of that red line, but the blue lines below it as well. And my comment on the blue lines are,
Can we stay on the amendment that we're on?
well, the amendment we're on is, I thought was also, that was, you just want the one line. Okay, so what my suggestion to you, another friendly amendment is to include the word bias, but to say self-reflection in that sentence above in the first paragraph of D, last sentence in D, okay? Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay, so self-reflection and an understanding of bias are key parts of having cultural awareness. Now that puts the bias piece in, and then if we talk about the other part, I'll explain to why that, but that would be my.
But that's key awareness of understanding it and see it, and it's not addressing. It doesn't address. Right here it says in order to address. Right. So it's the point of like you got to fight back against this stuff. And I mean, I'm not gonna stand down in any of it, and I'm gonna stand exactly how I want to stand as an individual. And you know, whoever is not, is fine. It is what it is. So that's where I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand where I don't want this to pass at the moment. I really would have us reconsider in moving out of fear, but also following the law, but making sure everything else is going to pretty much stay the same when it comes to equity, because we're knocking equity off. We're knocking like value of any aspect off, I think.
Where is
Well done, Board Member Aberman. So just to clarify, are you still trying to bring an amendment forward? Are you moving in another direction?
Probably another direction, but there's other hands
Okay,
up.
I'm going to go to other questions and then we can come back.
Sure.
Board Member Lena?
I have a suggestion for wording for, I have a suggestion for wording for Board Member Ali Ali's amendment, if I can try. Ali, can you listen to this, see if this works? So for section D, it would be cultural awareness, the ongoing practice of building knowledge around cultures in our district and being aware of others' cultures and norms, as well as any assumptions or biases. Self-reflection and humility are a key part of having cultural awareness.
That's perfect.
Wonderful. Can you please say that one more time into the record so that Dr. Warren can...
Okay, I'm going to start from letter D. So cultural awareness. The ongoing practice of building knowledge around the cultures in our district and being aware of others.
Can you, sorry. slow
Yeah,
down a
sorry.
little bit.
The ongoing practice of building knowledge around the cultures in our district and being aware of others' cultures and norms, as well as assumptions or biases, self-reflection, and humility are key parts of having cultural awareness.
Dr. Warren, did you get that?
So do you want me to read it back?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so D, cultural awareness. The ongoing practice of building knowledge around the cultures in our district and being aware of others' cultures and norms, as well as assumptions or biases. Self-reflection and humility are key parts of having cultural awareness.
So that is the friendly amended version of the amendment that is on the floor. Okay. So we have a first, we have a second, we have an amendment, we have a friendly amendment. Is there any other discussion on this amendment? Thank you. I'm sorry. I've not been looking over here. What is this
Chair, sorry,
discussion on this? Yeah.
Couldn't hear who the first and the second were.
The first was Board Member Ali. Ali's second was Bryden.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to make sure that the part about assumptions and biases is not of others' assumptions and biases. So I don't know about the wordsmithing there, but as long as it makes sense for everybody.
Dr. Warren, did you get that?
I think take out the word others.
Please don't talk unless you're spoken to, because this is going to get it will just continue to get more confusing. So just wait to be.
So right now it says the ongoing practice of building knowledge around the cultures in our district and being aware of others' cultures and norms, as well as assumptions or biases. I think what I hear you saying is that as well as assumptions or biases could be misconstrued to be about others. So you want to add something that reflects it being about our own assumptions and biases. So it sounds like the wording of the amendment needs to change slightly. Is that right?
I believe so, yes. Maybe removing the word others, aware of cultures and norms.
Yep. Yes. No. Okay. All right. Yes. So the friendly amendment is accepted. Is that correct? Okay. Beautiful. So we've had discussion. We're not doing, do we do public comment on amendments? No. So now we're going to move to vote on, okay. She says no. Okay, so now we're going to do a vote, a roll call vote on this amendment, please. The friendly amendment. So the amendment that's on the floor, can you please read the language one more time, Dr. Warren? This is for point D.
D, cultural awareness, the ongoing practice of building knowledge around the cultures in our district and being aware of cultures and norms, as well as assumptions or biases. Self-reflection and humility are key parts of having cultural awareness.
Great. So now we will do a roll call vote to accept this friendly amendment. Dr. Warren, can you please call the roll? And we're going to do rolls on these just to
Okay. Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
Yes.
what was Noor's vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba.
Yes.
Student Representative Lee.
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien.
Yeah.
Student Representative Ziegler. Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that amendment passes unanimously, so the motion on the floor is amended in that way. Is there other discussion or, yeah, Board Member Ali? So now we have this amended motion that's still on the floor.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to ask, is there another amendment?
Yes, this
Okay.
is the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, discussion is code for either discussion or bringing another amendment.
Okay. So if we go to curriculum and instructions, that's B. And then scroll down to A, all educators must integrate practices that make engaging and relevant grade level curriculum accessible to all students. And then that crossed out is including students learning English and students with disabilities. I'm sorry I wasn't here for when we edited the policy, but I do not understand why that was crossed out and would like to include that back in, as it is a very central part in what we are trying to do and educate all students to their ability, to their best ability.
Yeah, for those following along at home, we're on page 4 in the B section, curriculum and instruction, point A. You'll see throughout this document that there were moves. I'm going to respond as part of the discussion here. There were moves to either kind of like name all the different identity factors that are present in our district or name none of them. Because like this, it's not just students with learning English and students with disabilities, right? The categories of our students are much bigger than that. And so that's the intention behind that execution or that removal of that language. With that context, if you still would like to move forward with an amendment, I'm happy to go through that process.
Yes, I think I would like to because of all the other identities. I feel like if these two are in the class, in my mind, are most prevalent in how students actively learn in the moment. Although, I know this is uncomfortable for all of us, I feel like these two identities are non-negotiable for me.
So that amendment is on the floor. Are there any questions about that amendment? Board Member Lena.
I would not be in favor of bringing it back for the reasons that Chair Lynn stated, because I feel like there are many, many more identities of students, and it feels the term all students, to me, reading it, already includes these students. And if there were an educator that was not including, for example, students learning English in terms of their engaging and relevant grade level curriculum, to me as an evaluator, if I were to be, I would be seeing that, you are required to be making it accessible to all students as per the policy. So to me, it doesn't make sense to name only a few.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Board Member Ali?
Not that, well, yes. I think that what we discussed last time was the fact that we looked at subgroups and we were going to remove subgroups. I think me and Mickey agreed to, brought this up, but to remove subgroups in equity, to bring the list and then more, and then maybe we can use that term of the subgroup on the amendment that she wants. Yeah, sorry.
Point of order.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, thank you for that point of order. Yeah, you made a motion and we did need a second. A motion for that amendment, we did need a second. So can someone make a second for that amendment? Unfortunately, you can't really do it.
So
this is the amendment that Board Member Ali.
okay, I'll second it for now.
Okay. Now, thank you.
Now I have to discuss it, right? Rediscuss it.
Yeah, now we are discussing.
Okay, so Mickey, do you recall the conversation we've had about the subgroups and removing all the terms and what do subgroups mean?
Yeah, I think that one was on the definition of equity, right? Always.
Yes. So
I'm prepared to offer that amendment soon.
yeah, I think that amendment can literally answer this amendment, because having that list and then using the term subgroup, right, in the language could realign and have all the components of all people.
So are you offering a friendly amendment that the language should be changed to all students, including subgroups?
Including our population subgroups, right? And then up there is it'll explain what subgroups is.
Okay, so the friendly amendment is to make accessible to all students, including student subgroups.
Yeah.
Is that amendment accepted?
Yes, again, I'm sorry I wasn't here for all the conversations, so I understand that now.
That is totally all right. This is there's a phrase in politics called making the sausage, because it's kind of messy and weird, and that is what we're doing right now. So, but I'm glad that we're taking the time to do it. So the amendment now on the floor is the language is in point A of curriculum and instruction. All educators must integrate practices that make engaging and relevant grade level curriculum accessible to all students, including our student subgroups.
That's perfect.
Okay, any other discussion on that amendment? Board Member Bryden?
Thank you, Chair. I want to say that I share Board Member Lena's concern about a phrase that the last phrase, including subgroups, because I do think that, and I, generally speaking, I try to find hypotheticals around, what is the risk of doing a certain thing or, wording something this way or that way. And I'm thinking about the possibility of a student who is in a classroom with an educator who is not doing what they're supposed to do, and there's not a specific subgroup that they can point to say it's because of this, and I still want to advocate for that student. So I think that I would prefer, I absolutely understand the concern for wanting to, name subgroups in this particular subparagraph A, but I think just for that reason, I will be voting against this particular amendment to the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bryden.
Can I give a
Other
response?
discussion?
Yeah, just a quick response. So what we discussed during our curriculum, policy meeting was that we were not race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity was not enough. We were going to add more, as many as we can think of, and then put et cetera. And the reason why is because if we brought from a policy standpoint, this was brought to a judge, and it was looked at as a subgroup, right? The defense or the prosecution can state, or the defense would be like, but what is the subgroup? How can you hold us accountable? Because there's no, what is a subgroup? Anything could be a subgroup. So it had to be defined from our perspective. It had to be defined, and we can add more and then put et cetera, anything that we can think of. So, but then including the subgroup on the bottom would include anything we can think of it, but with inclusivity. Does that make sense?
To clarify, are you talking about you're talking, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're talking about a different portion of this document?
Yeah, two portions. So the portion of yours, we just changed the word in the end to subgroup. The subgroup definition would be on the top under definitions on equity. So it would include any population subgroup, and it'll have a list, and we can include as many as we want until.
So I think that if we get to another motion to make another amendment to the motion on the floor around that portion of the document that describes subgroups and lists them out, I think that's a valid discussion to have, and I will still be voting against this particular motion.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Vice Chair Bondo.
Yeah, I will be also, because I like to keep the subgroup all the way to the large definition of the equity on that aspect, because when I see all educators here, I see classroom content, English language learners, so it's already specified here, and also special education. So I think including student learning English and student with disability, it has been already included to that context here. So I just don't see, so I won't be able to be in favor to the amendment on the floor because it's been already stating here.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other discussion on the amendment that's on the floor?
Yeah, the last thing it would be accessible to all students, including all subgroups. Is that?
The amendment that is on the floor is accessible to all students, including student subgroups. Is that correct, Dr. Warren?
Including our student subgroups.
Okay. Board Member Aberman, go ahead.
Member, if I may ask you, Member Bondo, are you saying that we do not need to restate it because of the paragraph, parentheses rather, the all educators and the et cetera, that we do not need to? Or you,
No.
Or you think we
the content? We already have that.
We have that, so we can. Do you say we stop at all students? Or
yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
So at this point, I'd like to bring the amendment for a vote at this point. So the language, the amendment that is on the floor is, 1 second. What was that? Click on your picture.
So do you want me to read it?
Yes, Dr. Warren, I think that's easier than finding.
Okay, I'll read from the beginning of the sentence and then tell you where we get to the amendment. Is that okay?
Yes.
So all educators, and then in parentheses, classroom, content, ELL, special ed, etc., must integrate practices that make engaging and relevant grade level curriculum accessible to all students with the amendment, including our student subgroups.
All right. So with that, we're going to do a roll call vote on whether or not to accept this amendment. So a yes means to accept. So with that, Dr. Warren, can you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
No.
1 minute. Member Bryden?
No.
Member Lena?
No.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Dr. Upperman, Member Upperman?
No.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
I actually would like to have Representative O'Brien ask a question before I vote, if it's okay.
There was a question up.
Did I miss your hand? Okay.
I was just wondering, my mic is not working.
Can you pull over Zach's, perhaps? Yeah.
Do we have a set definition of what we consider subgroups written explicitly somewhere?
There is an amendment coming up that we are going to tackle that in.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Good use of your power there, Superintendent. Or Superintendent, you're not Superintendent, Student Representative
Not yet.
Fitzgerald. Go ahead.
Okay, so Student Representative Fitzgerald?
No.
Student Representative Kantiba?
Yes.
Student Representative Lee?
No.
Student Representative O'Brien?
No.
Student Representative Ziegler? Chair Lentz?
No. So the amendment fails with 5 people voting against and the students voting with the majority. So now we have the previously amended motion on the floor. I would like to bring forward an amendment which is about the issues that we have been talking about, the student subgroups. So in the definition of equity, which I believe is on the second page, it would be adding language at the end of that bullet. So it would read, equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any of the following population subgroups, race, ethnicity, sex, EL status, language, SPED status, standing for special education, economic status, and homeless status. This list is reflective of data the state also records and measures. Could I get a second on that amendment? Board Member Ali? What discussion? I emailed this language out also, so if people need it, it's in your email.
Just a quick question.
Yes, Board Member Ali.
It does include religion, right? So what about legal status?
No. Race, ethnicity, sex, EL status, which is English language status, which I actually would give a friendly amendment to myself to spell things out. Language, special ed status, economic status, and homeless status.
Yeah, I would.
Hold on 1 second. Board Member Opperman?
Is there a reason that you did not include religion, which is in the original list that was given?
Did I accidentally delete it? 1 second. Superintendent, do you have the answer to that question? Did I accidentally? Hold on. Race, ethnicity. It was not in the.
Was there?
It was there? Where am I?
Race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity.
So the list that I am reading from is the list that is the qualities that are used at the state level. So that is what I am proposing. It had nothing to do with the original list that was there. In committee and at the board, we decided that what the state used was what we wanted to connect this to. And so we got that list from the state.
Can we add some more?
Can you what?
Can I?
Friendly amendment?
Friendly amendment, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, you could make a friendly amendment.
Okay. Friendly amendment to include religion and legal status.
I don't accept that friendly amendment. Any other discussion on the amendment that's on the floor?
Can I ask why?
Board member, because the intention of this list is to line it up with what the state measures so that there is fluency between what the state is measuring and what we are measuring in terms of outcomes. I do also recognize that this list is not all encompassing, but I think for the sake of what we're trying to do and the way that we tie it into the strategic plan and the benchmarks that we're using there, this list is inclusive of what we need right now. Board Member Bryden.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Yes.
And it's a phrasing. So I'm going to sort of read the end of, I'm going to read out loud what I'm suggesting. No identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup, including but not limited to the following, which are tracked by the State Department of Education, and then all the things you listed.
Which include.
Can you do it one more time slower?
Sure.
So we can get it.
When there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup, including but not limited to the following, which are tracked by the State of Maine Department of Education, all of the things that are, all of the subgroups that are tracked by Maine DOE.
I accept that amendment.
Yeah, just not this. Did you still do it?
Okay. So the friendly amendment has been accepted. The amendment that is on the floor right now, to read it one more time. Subgroups including but not limited to the following, which are tracked by the Maine Department of Education: race, ethnicity, sex, English language status, language, special education status, economic status, and homeless status.
Real quick, if I have a
Board
question
Member
about that.
Ali, go ahead.
Yeah. So this term specifically says equity is all people being held to high expectations and have access to opportunities that reflect of their own individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any of the following population subgroups. In this term, I don't see how it would be reflective of data that the state holds in record, because we're not doing that, right? This is just explaining what equity means. So I think that it's great that you've got those points, right? This is a reflective of data, and the state also records and measures, as well as other subgroups that were identified by the board. You understand? Because yeah.
So, Board Member Aberman, yes, go ahead.
What I liked about her friendly amendment was, but not,
including but not limited to.
Including but not
Limited to.
limited.
Right.
So that amendment is satisfying what I think Chair Lentz is trying to say, is to make things look like it fits the state rules. But we're saying, I think there are more reasons than the state measures in outcome. And if we come and find that, we look at another subgroup, that a subgroup will be included in that wording.
So,
okay.
I would argue it, I would take it to court.
And just a couple of notes, so religious status isn't something that is, or religion is not something that is recorded either at the state or the local level. And also around immigration status, that isn't something that we record, also just to protect students. That's not data that we want in here. Board Member Opperman?
But if we were to go to the human rights situation, that's a broader definition, but we don't measure everything in our disaggregation of people. So that's why you're trying to make that distinction.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question about this? So in this term, I'm getting closer to accepting what you guys are saying. But in this term with the equity piece, this is just explaining the definition rather than saying that we can use this data. Right? It's just explaining this is the race, these are subgroups.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it's like giving us a universe of data that we know that we will look at, and giving us a universe to say, if there's other things here that weren't captured in this list, we can still talk about it.
Okay. So this is different than discrimination. This is equity.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Correct. No, really good questions to get us there. I appreciate that. Board member, Ali.
Yes. So it doesn't include disability status. Is that?
So that is encompassed within special education
Special education.
status. That's correct.
I feel like I'm missing things today. Where does it say that?
Superintendent, yeah.
SPED, yes. Oh,
SPED, which is now special.
yes.
That is a
Thank
common
you, yes.
acronym. Yes, but yeah. Okay, so I would like to bring this amendment to the floor for a vote. Students, was there any hands over there? Wave them big if you need me, okay? Okay, so just one more time, you're going to be voting in favor of this amendment to change the language and the equity definition to let's see, where does that start? When there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any of the following population subgroups, including but not limited to the following, which are tracked by the Maine Department of Education: race, ethnicity, sex, English language status, language, special education status, economic status, and homeless status. So we are now going to have a vote on that. Dr. Warren, a yes is to approve. When you're ready, please call the roll.
Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Student Representative Katiba. Student Representative Katiba. Student Representative Lee.
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien.
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler. Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that amendment passes unanimously. Are there other amendments to the motion that is on the floor right now?
Yeah, just add the that term subgroups to the equity literacy part.
So what is the amendment that you?
Yeah, as defined by the Equity Literacy Institute, it is understanding and action required to create equitable schools. It is about both the commitment to individual and institutional understanding of how equity and inequity operate, as well as the individual and institutional knowledge, skills, and will to identify and eliminate inequities, and actively cultivating equity. Never mind. This is crazy. This is just a lot of talk. Whoever wrote this, a lot.
Yes, I think that that's also part of this intention, is to streamline this because it does get overwhelming pretty.
Yeah, it's just a lot of words.
Yeah. Any other amendments that would like to come to the floor? Yes, Student Representative Lee.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep this as quick as I can. I know I can't propose amendments, and I apologize if this is just completely unhelpful. But I was looking at section B, and it currently reads in PPS on page 4. In PPS, we strive to use equity-based curricula, which outlines, and so the S conflicts with the curricula being plural, which is a tiny thing. And then also later in that same sentence, it uses the term cultural humility, which I think you mentioned people have issues with. So I wonder if we might want to remove that there also.
Those are great amendments. And I don't think that there's a rule that student representatives can't make amendments. They can't vote. They vote in a representative way, but I think you could make an amendment.
Well, we could always say if they make an amendment, one of us could just enforce it.
I'll take it. Just to make sure that we're in legal standing, I would like to bring forward the amendment and give credit to Student Representative Lee. I think those are two great changes in curriculum and instruction. We're going to change outline to outlines to outline, and then change cultural humility to cultural awareness as to be in line with the other change that we made. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Any discussion on that amendment?
Chair Lentz, sorry, can I pause for a second? 'Cause I'm not sure I lost where we are. So we're in B.
B, culture, curriculum, and instruction. In the first sentence, we strive to use equity-based curricula, which outline,
It really is.
both what we teach and how we teach it, pedagogy, including teacher practices and collaboration, comma, cultural awareness instead of humility. What is it? What? Yes, I'll agree with that, but hold on, Steve. I definitely can't take an amendment from the crowd, but I appreciate that. So let's change that, Dr. Warren, including teaching practices, comma, collaboration, comma, and cultural awareness. Yeah, that's okay. That's all right, Stephen. We don't have to agree on everything.
Can I just add one piece?
Yes.
Is the adjustment of cultural awareness and cultural humility, I think, is a great example of matching up the language. The group does not need to do the editing, because where there is a typo or a simple adjustment that does not impact the meaning of the policy, it can be cleaned up afterwards. So I appreciate it. Like, we don't need to go for so the cultural humility awareness, I think, is really important. The other pieces, we just want to be careful about.
And in a policy that is important as this, I think doing them all publicly is
Big deal.
is great. Okay, so that is the amendment that is on the floor. There was a second. So any other discussion around this amendment? Okay, let's vote for it. So the vote is to accept this amendment that changes outlines to outline and changes the punctuation and the word humility to awareness. Dr. Warren, when you're ready.
I apologize. I'm having to create new places to put the votes.
This is more votes than
we thought. Yeah,
we've had in a long time.
Okay. We'll fill in the details in a minute. All right. Member Ali.
Yeah.
Member
Yes,
Yu-
sorry.
Was that yes? Member Yusur Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Is this correct?
Yeah.
Member Alina?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought we got some people out of order. Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba?
Yes.
Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler? And Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the amendment is accepted to the motion on the floor. With that, are there other amendments that need to be offered on this policy?
Yeah, last one for me. We're returning all the purple in page 2. The 5 abilities of equity literacy include the ability to recognize even the subtlest bias and inequities, the ability to respond skillfully and equitably to biases and inequities in the immediate term, the ability to redress biases and inequities by understanding and addressing them at their institutional roots. Maybe that one you can change, but the ability to actively cultivate equity by applying an equity commitment to every decision, and the ability to sustain equity efforts even in the face of discomfort or resistance. So my amendment actually would be keeping A, B, and E, but I'm open to friendly amendments.
Do people, so.
You move it, you made a motion, we second.
Thank you. Catch me in the second. So did you get that? Board Member Upperman seconded on the motion. Is there any discussion? Yes, Student Representative O'Brien, go ahead.
I'm curious to know why that was originally removed before we want to bring it back.
Yeah, so this was another one that came in the process of just streamlining this policy a little bit. To speak to Board Member Ali's point, this just felt like a place where we could decrease the amount of words, and it didn't. It felt in some ways redundant, and yeah. Other discussion on this amendment?
Yeah, I'm just going to explain. The reason why I said I don't know about D, because it says the ability to actively cultivate equity by applying an equity commitment to every decision. Like, I mean, I don't know how you would
Evaluate that?
Yeah, it's just it makes sense and it doesn't make sense. And then
Yes.
C, the ability to redress biases and inequities by understanding and addressing them at their institutional roots. I think I would keep that. So A, B, C, and E, I would definitely keep, and the 5 abilities at the top. So A, B, C, and E.
So, Board Member Ali?
I would be supporting keeping B and E. Because I feel like especially E speaks to the current political climate that we're in and not like discarding our values, I would say. So B and E I would support.
And I just want to add one piece of context. So these 5 qualities are directly from the equity literacy framework. So I would recommend that we either keep all 5 of them or get rid of all of them together and not do a mix and match because it is from a specific framework.
Okay, thank you. I will keep all of them. That's going to be my motion.
Okay. Board Member Lena?
Thank you, Chair Lenz. I was going to say the same thing, that these are pulled directly from the definition from the Equity Literacy Institute. And I would be in favor of keeping the edits as is with striking them, because I feel that in terms of cleaning up the policy, we reference the Equity Literacy Institute in the definition of equity literacy, that we're using their definition. So if someone were to wonder what the definition was, they would go to the Equity Literacy Institute, and it's very clearly outlined on their page. And I think that since we're referencing them, we're referencing that our definition is their definition, and their definition already includes these.
Okay, thank you. Again, super, I don't know what it is. You must have that energy today. Go ahead, Student Representative Fitzgerald.
Okay. So I would support keeping all of them because I do think that accessibility is a big thing. Like when I read a policy as a student, I'm not really going to go and do in-depth research. And so I do believe that having this language on here as like a policy that comes from Portland Public Schools would make it more, would reinforce it more. And I think that these are very important to be perpetuating in Portland Public Schools, especially, E and A. I believe if we could keep individual ones, I would keep E and A. But yeah, I support keeping all of them because I simply believe it's important.
Thank you, Student Representative Fitzgerald. Any other discussion on the amendment? Board Member Bryden and then Opperman.
Thank you, Chair. I will be voting against this particular motion. I think that the abilities listed are important, and eliminating them from this policy doesn't mean we're going to stop doing them and valuing them. But following up on what Board Member Lena was saying, I think that it is important to streamline the policy. And so for that reason, I will be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Board Member Opperman.
I wanted to bring the attention of everyone that in the paragraph prior to that group, it mentions institutional understanding, knowledge, skills, identifying and eliminating and actively cultivating equity. And I feel those are the essence of the 5 listed specifically. And if we wanted to put the reference directly after that paragraph That would be my suggestion, so that it would be how it's done, parenthetical, right after the paragraph referring to the equity literacy website. Blah, blah. That would be, again, for streamlining.
Are you
I understand
offering a
everything in there is
friendly amendment? Or are you offering an amendment?
I'm bringing to attention and saying what I think would be reasonable. I'm not asking anyone to make an amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Student Representative Fitzgerald.
You. I think that if we really want these to be kind of like these values to be driven in, then we need to have them written out to be read, even if it's seen as redundant, because if it's redundant, then why not just repeat valuable information? Yeah, I just think that keeping it is much more valuable than omitting it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I got something to say. So it is very important for me to have these things that are just clearly written. I'm not trying to play with race. I'm not trying to play with none of that, because we've already dealt with a million things, and it's just like, as we're moving forward, this is simple 5 abilities to figure out if someone's being, like biased or whatever, it's just understanding that. I want to keep it. And I think this is more of a statement rather than anything. So
Thank you for that. Any other discussion before we move to a vote on this amendment? Okay, then with that, Dr. Warren, when you are ready.
Before Dr. Warren calls a roll, can we just be clear on what the amendment is?
Yes.
Because the amendment when originally stated had some of the bullets, and so I just want to make sure everybody's clear on
Thank you.
what it is.
Yeah, the amendment on the floor is to get rid of, to revert to including points A through E back into the policy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So we would be voting to, and the 5 abilities of the equity literacy include that phrase as well. So the vote would be to accept that amendment. A yes means to accept. Dr. Warren, when you're ready.
Member Ali?
yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
No.
Member Lena?
No.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
No.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Student Representative Biba? Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler? Chair Lentz?
Yes, so that amendment passes 5-3, students voting with the majority. So we have the 2 amendments that have been accepted to the policy. Any other amendments on the floor or that people want to bring to the floor?
I'm satisfied with the language.
Great, so then I would be, any other discussion about the amended policy that is on the floor? I just want to name that this has been a really hard process. And, I've heard from a lot of community members, a lot of questions. And I just want to reiterate that these changes do not change our commitment to equity. And that we are in an ever-changing political landscape right now. And these changes really do, I believe, and I've spent a lot of time with this policy and a lot of reflection, but I really do believe that these changes will help us continue and protect the work that we're doing in this district. So just want to name that because this has not been an easy process for anyone involved. With that, I would like to bring now this motion, this amended motion up for a vote. So the consideration and action now is to approve this amended motion of policy ACA. Those of you who are catching my procedural mistakes, are we in, we did everything? Okay, thank you. Dr. Warren, whenever you're ready.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba, Student Representative Lee,
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien,
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler, Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes with the students voting with the majority there. I am going to ask that we take just another 5-minute recess before we move into the budget, and we do this again. But just thank you all for your patience in that process. I think we ended up in a really strong position. So I'm hopeful that we can do the same thing with the budget after a 5-minute break. Right. So we're going to come back now. And we have our last order of old business, returning business. Hold on one sec. We have up for consideration tonight, we have the consideration action to recommend fiscal year 2026 school budget to the city council. Would you like to speak to this? I think you can speak to it first, and then we'll bring it to the floor.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Even at 9 o'clock, I am very excited to do some finance slides with everybody. And so, you know me, can't resist it. So just give me 1 second. Let me pull them up. Great. So tonight, what I'm hoping to do is share with the board just a quick reminder of what is in the budget. Second, to provide a quick update on adjustments that have happened since the budget was originally presented to the board on March 4th. And so what changes happened at the Finance Committee. And then we've all been waiting for an update around medical premiums. And so to share that and a recommendation about how to potentially address them. So just a reminder, this is the executive summary that you saw on March 4th. There hasn't been much that has changed. The proposed budget continues to be aligned to the strategic plan and supports outcomes for all students. The overall budget is approximately $171.7 million. It's focused on student experiences and outcomes and is directly aligned to the strategic plan. And for the second year in a row, we're presenting a comprehensive budget of all revenues and expenses, not only locally funded. The budget was developed after extensive engagement with our community, staff, and school leadership. And it includes targeted investment aligned to our strategic plan, including music at the high schools, academic rigor and support at the middle schools, reading support at our elementary schools, and special education district-wide. The original proposal and then the one that was approved by Finance would raise the school portion of the property taxes by 5.3%. It's just a slight difference between the two, but still about 5.3 or 42 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. For a median homeowner, which we're considering a $500,000 house, this would result in an increase of $210 per year. Just want to keep in mind our 5 strategic priorities that we are using as a district to drive toward improved student outcomes and the district's overall success. These are key priorities that as we look at our budget, we want to make sure that our budget is aligned to them. The first is around equity and keeping equity at the center of our work. Second is student achievement and making sure that all students are prepared and empowered for when they graduate. The third is whole student connected community. This is about not just having an academically rigorous place, but a great place to learn and to grow. The fourth is people and a focus on developing staff, leaders, and our organizational culture, recognizing that we will only be as strong as the staff that are in our buildings, in our cafeterias, or driving our buses. And last is a focus around systems, streamlining our operations for equity, efficiency, and accountability. In this budget, we identified fiscal year 26 budget priorities by engaging our community, reviewing student performance, and aligning to our strategic plan. And what you see here are 6 areas where we particularly aligned investment. Down below is the initiatives as they align with the strategic plan. So 1.3 is an initiative that's focused around adult education. and the budget includes consultant capacity to lead the evaluation and planning process. 2.1 focused around elementary literacy, and so this is the pilot program at our Title I schools to add early literacy education technicians in our kindergarten classrooms, and 2 reading specialists at 2 of our schools. The third area, 2.5 special education. This is providing both staffing at our central office and in our schools in response to the evaluation that we had from an outside entity this year around our special education programming. 2.6 is an initiative that is in the design phase next year. This is focused around multilingual learners. This would have an external evaluation of our current programming to make sure that we are aligning it and making adjustments as needed. And second, that there is funding to increase the number of staff with ESOL credentialing. 3.6 is an initiative around early childhood. This is recognizing that the state is no longer going to be responsible for early childhood starting in the year 2028, and that the district will need to be. And so we have an investment to have both staff and some capacity around early childhood. And then 2.7, I added because it used to not be here, so that's apologize for being out of order, but this is the access to enrichment subjects, and this is particularly the 1 additional music teacher at Portland and the 1 additional music teacher at Deering. This would give both of those schools 2 music teachers. These are all things that are in the budget that was originally presented and that was approved by the Finance Committee. Since the time that this budget was originally presented, the Finance Committee engaged with staff in the city's Finance Committee and made some revisions to the superintendent's proposed budget. The committee moved $50,440 of expenses to the Foundation of Portland Public Schools. It made a reduction of a 0.5 ed tech at Rowe. It was a clerical error based on the number of kindergarten classes we estimate that they have. There was an adjustment of a small number of facilities typos where the titles just need to be adjusted and the aligned salaries to it. And so you can see those there at Lyseth, Ocean, and King. And the total adjustments in there that the Finance Committee did, both from reductions in expenses as well as increases, resulted in a total savings of $40,802. After presenting the superintendent's budget, we learned that the benefits, the medical benefits in particular, would come in higher than the 6% we had budgeted. And so just so that everybody has the same context for this, I first want to talk about a slide that was shared specifically with the Finance Committee, and then to provide the update on the information. So each year we receive our medical premiums near the end of the budget process. As a result, this requires that we put in a placeholder and then adjust. Medical and dental benefits were both budgeted to increase by 6 percentage points. The medical benefits, we learned in this process that the MEA trust indicated that premiums could increase by as much as 18 percentage points. With that knowledge that it could be such a wide range, I think that was part of the factor on the Finance Committee choosing to wait to today when we would have the updated and accurate benefits. As a note on this, the district share of our teachers' increase is currently capped at 5.38, which is the 3% annual plus 2.3% last year. This is because in their contract, the max that it can increase on the district side in a year is capped at 3%. And then the following year, we take on that addition. But so that means that this year, our teachers in their premiums would have the difference. The PPS, or district share of all their staff, is currently not capped. And so any increase that we see in medical premiums we need to assume that that is absorbed by the district. And what we shared with you at the time is that for every 1% increase above 6%, it's an approximate $110,000 increase in premiums. And so if it had increased from 6% to 18%, it would have been a 12 percentage point increase, or $1.32 million approximately. The dental benefits, on the other hand, were capped at 7%. And we did learn early on in this process that our benefits came in for dental at just under 6%, requiring no adjustment. And it was very minor, the actual savings there, and not of any significance, where actually a couple of people choosing into a dental plan or not and how they chose it would actually wipe away those savings. So there was no necessary adjustment on dental. We've now received updated medical premiums. These premiums are higher than originally budgeted, but far from the worst case. As I said, we originally budgeted for a 6% increase. Medical benefits have now come in higher at a 9.6% increase. That incremental increase, when we get to the exact dollar amount, is $350,969. That means that our total health insurance increase for fiscal year 26 is almost $1.6 million, or 7.4% increase from fiscal year 25. I include this additional caveat here around FY27 as the insurance premiums will increase next year as we take on that difference for the teacher or PEA members. And so just as a little exercise here, if there was a 0% increase in fiscal year 27 on medical benefits, as a district, we would still see our benefits increase by 5.1% because of the fact that we are not taking on that addition this year. If the district were to see a 9.6% increase in FY27, so the exact same as this year, it would actually result in an 11.3% increase because of the PEA contract. And so I put that there as a word of caution that while it is less this year, it comes to us next year, and we see that jump next year. The incremental increase going from 6% to 9.6% would potentially add $350,969 to the tax levy. The mill rate would adjust to 8.33 per $1,000 of assessed value, and the increase would be closer to 5.6%. To put this all into context, the table below shows the proposed tax rate, the tax rate with benefits, and other potential adjustments. And so I just want to walk through this table on the left, as I think it's helpful context as we are going through the budget discussion. So next year, this coming year, it's assumed that property valuation will increase. Without any additional increase to the mill rate, just by the increased valuation of properties, we estimate that we will receive an increased tax levy of $1.38 million. That's the top line of that chart on the left. The board had previously asked about what property adjustments would look like at the $501 million mark. And so those are the lines in what is that sort of like yellowish tan. And so an increase of 0.41% is 3 cents, and it's just about exactly $500,000. An increase of 0.82 or 7 cents is the $1 million. Some folks have asked about why it goes from 3 to 7. It is a rounding factor that is happening there. What you see in blue is highlighted what was the superintendent proposed increase of 42 cents on the mill rate, a tax levy increase of $7.75 million, with an impact to the median homeowner, again, of a $500,000 house, of that $210 increase. The increase of the benefits, if that was all added to the tax levy, would increase it to approximately 0.44 cents, or $8.1 million, which impact on a median homeowner would be $220. And what you can see on the right is the $501 million adjustments, again, showing on what it changes. The initial proposed mill rate of $8.30 on a $500,000 house would result in a school portion of your property taxes of $4,150 or $345.83 per month. The increase of benefits would result in a proposed mill rate of 8.33. Again, the difference there is because 7.88 and 0.44 are both rounded numbers, which is why it adds up to 8.33 and not 8.32. That results in a increase of that $10 that you see there. Speaking of taxes, it's just worth taking a minute here and reminding everybody that the city, county, and school district tax rates combine for an overall property tax rate for residents. And so what you can see on the screen there is the FY25 tax levy distribution. And so you can see that the city, county, and school all add up to the overall property tax rate that a homeowner would experience. And so if our school board were to approve a 5.3% or a 5.6%, and the city were to also approve that, the impact on a homeowner would be approximately 5.6%. It does not get added and become 10%. It may also be helpful to consider the historical tax increases that PPS has implemented. That's the table that you can see on the left. This is a table that was shown in one of our earlier meetings. And I just highlight that last year, when the board approved the property taxes for fiscal year 25, the estimated increase was actually to $7.96, which would have had a percent increase of 6.6. But property valuation came in higher. And so the impact from a mill rate and from a percent increase is lower. Because from a practical end, as board members, what you are voting on tonight and moving forward to the city is the overall tax levy. So that 119 on this screen, that 119,402,624, tonight you're going to vote and move forward a different number. That's the number that becomes fixed. As the city goes through its property reevaluation process, which is happening right now, that will then drive what is the mill rate that gets to that overall tax levy. I also want to recognize that budgets may adjust throughout the year and including through the budget process due to unforeseen costs. Tonight, we're going to share a revised set of potential adjustments based on the increased benefit costs. Before I go through all of these, and I'll go through them each in some level of detail, I do also want to acknowledge that as we go through a budget and as we go through a year, we incur unanticipated expenses, adjustments in revenue, and our budget adjusts as a result. A simple example of that is if a teacher is absent because they're on a long-term illness and we cover the class with a sub. That is something that we do estimated budget things for, but that does impact our overall expenses and what we anticipate. And that is something that as staff, we adjust for on an ongoing basis. And so I say that all to say that as we're going through these changes, if the district were to experience other unforeseen or unanticipated costs, that we may have to adjust these even after approval. So just want to acknowledge that that's the process that typically happens. The summary that you see at the table is going to repeat again at the end. And so what I'm going to do is have it here, but I'm going to go through it in detail on each of the slides. And then at the end, I'll come back to it. So if there are questions on it, we have it there. So I also want to acknowledge that this can be a little bit confusing because what we're going to talk about is potential adjustments to the Finance Committee approved budget. In some cases, these are items that already exist in our schools. In other cases, there are items that we were adding in this year's budget. And so I'll try to highlight that where possible. And so in the Finance Committee supported the adjustment, as you saw, to expenses by having some costs be shifted over to the Foundation for Portland Public Schools. We've identified other potential reductions in our academic non-personnel budget. I don't want to say that these wouldn't have an impact, but I want to acknowledge that we tried to find that balance of recognizing that we need to be responsive to potential increased costs, as well as looking to see where there's possibility. And so 3 things to highlight, and then I'll walk through each of the lines. So first is we reduce contracted support that would come from the outside to do high school curriculum and ESOL program evaluation. It does not mean that they would not happen, but it means that we would lower the amount that we're asking for from outside consultants to support in it. We're reducing the external principal development. We have, and have been very fortunate to receive funding from Barr Foundation to provide principal training for actually all of our principals, assistant principals, and directors in our district. We anticipate being able to continue that next year. This budget proposed some additional increases in funding to pay for additional principal development that you could almost think of as like a cohort of leaders that would be going even deeper in some key leadership work. This budget that you're seeing on the screen now is saying that instead of increasing the budget by $40,000, we could increase it by $25,000 and see savings of $15,000. So that's what you see there. The third is training around sheltered instruction observation protocol, or SIOP. This is a practice that would support around multilingual learners. This is training where we would have had somebody come in and do that. We are going to go through an evaluation of our multilingual program next year. And so it's possible to do this once that evaluation's done, similar to how we've done work this year, where we first do the evaluation and then dig in deeper based on the recommendations. And so now I just want to walk you through the table below. So the principal development, as I said, it is not that it would go to zero. We anticipate to continue to have the funding from Barr, but that the increase, so funding that we do not have in fiscal year 25, that we propose to add of $40,000, we are saying that we could potentially reduce it to $25,000. The SIOP, which was budgeted at $15,000, we are saying that we could look to do some of it on a lighter note in-house, but then wait until after the evaluation to make sure that we're aligning our strategies. Securely is an online tool that provides a security around emails and communication. Google has a similar product, and so we use Google Suite for everything. And so we could make that shift. That is something that was recommended actually from our IT team. This is office supplies here from $3,500 to $1,800, as well as supplies for like food and those types of things for training days. And so it is going from $3,500 to $1,800. The curriculum grade level bubble classes, this is when a school has 3 third grade classrooms and next year has 4 third grade classrooms. And so they don't have all the reading materials that they need. We can actually do those purchases this year with some of the savings we have and not need to incur them next year. So supporting the adjustment of that. And then the last line there is, again, that we would do the evaluation and have the evaluation looking at both our high school curriculum for math as well as the ESOL audit, but to spend less on the external consultants doing it. And so you see that adjustment there. The total savings from the proposed budget is $118,990. The second area is around our enrollment team and our registration team. So we have a central office team that does a significant amount of registration and support, particularly for multilingual students, but it also does pre-K and does a number of supports that keeps some of that work off of our school staff. Our proposed budget made an increase to that enrollment team to move it to a team of 5. We're proposing that we can dig into this and potentially reduce it to 3.6. So I'm going to walk through that. So the proposed budget included an enrollment manager, an enrollment specialist, 2 ELL acquisition specialists, particularly individuals that focus on testing our multilingual learners, and an administrative lead. The enrollment manager is a new position proposed for next year. This position is designed to make sure that we have a clear, streamlined, and effective registration process. And so we believe that having that position come in, develop this, can actually help this run more efficiently than it does now. Second is that the ELL acquisition specialist currently is 2. One has been out, and it's now vacant. And so we believe that based on that, we could go from 2 to 1.6 FTE. So just to be clear, the enrollment manager is a new add here that we think is essential for designing the process. The enrollment specialist would be a reduction of a staff member that's currently on the team. The stipends are to offset some of that lost capacity, so to allow the team to flex during heavy season. So when we're particularly doing pre-K or kindergarten registration, that we have stipends to pay staff that provide extra capacity for the team. The next area is around the strategic planning capacity that was proposed and budgeted around early childhood. So as a reminder, this budget includes the addition of a director for early childhood. And so this is a new add in preparation for moving over the work of child development services to the district. The hope is that this person will be able to join at the start of this next fiscal year. And this proposal here is recognizing that as they come on, that they can do some of that internal strategic planning, and that we may not need to ask for a contracted service. Would it be nice to have to help guide that? Yes. In a situation where we're looking for potential adjustments, this is one where we're adding capacity, and so we think that there's already an add there. So we may be able to adjust. We also identified potential savings in our human resource budget. Particularly, we would continue to survey staff, but we would shift to a different form. Right now, we use TNTP. The acronym used to stand for the New Teacher Project, but now they just go by TNTP. We would shift from TNTP to Panorama. Panorama is a nationally recognized and norm survey. It's also free. And so the trade-off that we would be experiencing here is twofold in my mind. One is that TNTP has been used in the district for the last handful of years, and so we'd lose a little bit of being able to norm back to previous years. The second is that right now TNTP takes care of all of the administration of this, and so the administration would sit internally and need to be taken on by our data team. The second area that you see here is a reduction in stipends. Particularly, we have 2 staff members that receive stipends at each of our schools to support around teacher certification. The proposal here is that that work can shift over to our HR staff and the newly formed team. And the third is a reduction in supplies from $29,000 to $19,000. So overall, in the HR department, the proposed savings is $98,500. And then last, just kidding, second to last, is adjustments in our multilingual team. So first, want to acknowledge that our multilingual team has already seen an adjustment that has come about from the loss of a supporting grant that had a reduction in 1.7 full-time equivalent. These are our family and community engagement specialists. The second piece is that you see an adjustment here recognizing language shifts in our community, and so being responsive to that. In this change, this is from what was approved from the Finance Committee to potential adjustments. We are proposing two. One is to adjust the language access coordinator. That's the individual who supervises the multilingual team. They would go from a 1.0 to a 0.8 full-time equivalent. In the past, they have operated as a 0.8 FTE. Further, the proposal would reduce the contracted line by $25,000. This would eliminate the AmeriCorps contract. The AmeriCorps contract is one where we're able to leverage at a relatively cheap cost a individual to provide additional staffing support for the multilingual team that really serves as it's almost like a Swiss Army knife in terms of able to take on a number of things, but we are proposing that we could reduce that. The next proposed adjustment is around special education, and this comes out of the recommendations from the outside evaluator. And so we proposed a number of additions, if you remember from the budget proposal, and while we think they're necessary, it may be optimistic about our ability to staff, and we could shift some of it to contracted services. And so the current budget, FY25, includes 3 physical therapists. The proposal for FY26 included 4 physical therapists. This potential adjustment is to go back to 3 physical therapists for 1 more year and to increase slightly our contracted services for physical therapists to pick up the gap in capacity. And so the overall summary is at the bottom of the table. If you were to make these adjustments, it would maintain the local revenue at $162,730,000 and the total revenue at $171,700,000. The way that we would look at this is we would potentially approve reductions of $350,969 in budgeted expenses to offset the increased medical premiums. And then this is to a question that Vice Chair Bondo asked earlier today around the calendar. We'd approve reductions of $142,000 due to the increased cost of the school calendar change. And so that's how it would balance out. So the $493,000 that you see here would absorb the increased medical premiums, the changed school calendar, and leave the property taxes in the middle rate at the 5.3% increase. There was a question, so I just want to address it because one of the questions is always around student enrollment and what to look at. This is a table that was looked at before. We've also updated board docs to include, I think, 10 years of student enrollment. And the student enrollment that's included on board docs is what we report to the state every year on October 1. Here, just highlight this, that the student population has decreased slightly over the last 8 years, but has been relatively flat since pandemic at right around that 6,500 number. We do anticipate, and our staffing accounts for, potential reductions at the high school level. And so the proposed budget from March 4th and the one approved by the Finance Committee recognized that Portland High School in particular was anticipated to decrease in its overall student enrollment. And as a result, there was a reduction in 2 staff. And Dr. Ahmed has been working with our Principal Jepson over there to determine exactly what the right staffing is for that adjustment. We don't anticipate that that's a change that's going to change back the next year where we're going to have any type of yo-yo effect. I also just want to provide caution as we have a fairly mobile student population. And so looking at a projection of just from today to next year, well, it's very helpful for doing initial budgeting and initial class judgments. I don't think it yet makes a trend. And so we want to be careful about making any significant budget adjustments. And in fact, we do a fair amount at the network level to make adjustments where necessary. And that includes where a school may have an additional need for a classroom. We'll move a teacher from a school that's under to a school that is seeing an increase in a class. But that's our way to do that as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And I recommend that we don't make other adjustments based on what is a very foggy looking glass into next year. And then just as we think about where this all sits, so tonight this is in front of you for amendments and approval. On the 29th of April is when we anticipate now that the City Finance Committee will vote to approve the school budget. That is a new date that we received today. And so that is when we anticipate that the City Finance Committee will vote to approve. On May 19th is when we anticipate that the City Council will vote to approve. And on June 10th is when we have the public referendum. And with that, Chair, my comments are done, but I'm happy to take questions or however you see fit.
Yeah, I think let's go ahead and bring the motion to the floor, and then we can take questions once it's into the floor. So I would be looking for a motion to the consideration and action to approve the 2025-2026 school, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong language, school budget to City Council. So is there a motion? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. So are there any questions on this motion from the board? There's questions at this time. Board Member Yusra Ali, go ahead.
Is the motion with the adjustments that the superintendent?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion?
So this is just a motion, pre-adjustments?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. This is just to bring the motion to the floor. Board Member Bryden.
Thanks, Chair. So just to sort of continue the theme of the question so far, can I just confirm my understanding that, so like I made a motion and when we ultimately vote on this motion, that will be the like whatever's on the table as amended through like little sub motions. If that passes, then this process is done because we have moved this along to the city's finance committee, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions on the motion that is on the floor, which is the budget as passed by the Finance Committee? Okay. Now we'll move into discussion by the board. So this is a time for any amendments. And I would like to bring forward an amendment, which would be to accept the reductions outlined on page 11 minus the early childhood contract services. So it would be a reduction for $423,424. I'm not sure what that does to the tax levy, so we'll probably have to do that on the spot, but that is the amendment that I would like to bring forward. The slides from the budget presentation.
Can I adjust your amendment slightly because my language is not clear enough on it?
Yes.
The reduction of the 142,455 is not actually an overall reduction. It is shifting it from what was previously budgeted to salaries to cover the calendar cost.
So if I were to make the, hold on, let me get to the right slide. So it would be $350,000 and $969. That would be the reduction to maintain the increase because of the medical premiums. And then it would be $72,455 that would be moved to cover some of the calendar costs. And then we would have to then add an additional amount, right, to cover the calendar costs? Is that what you're saying?
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We're still getting clear on the amendment. It has not been seconded yet. So
Just, I'm trying to understand what the amendment is.
I think that's where we all are. So we're going to get super clear on that. So my amendment is to approve the reductions of $350,000 and $350,969, and then to approve an adjustment of $72,455 to move to cover some of the expenses. And then I would ask for an increase on the tax rate to make up the additional $70,000. I'd be looking for a second, so then we can get into discussion. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. And just to remind people, there does not have to be a second in Robert's rules. You can, if it doesn't get a second, then it just doesn't come to the floor for discussion. So that is the amendment that is on the floor right now.
So this is my question on your amendment. So you were saying that there was approve a reduction of $350,969. Basically what the cost of
The medical benefits.
All right, so that would be, and you're not saying specifically what to cut.
Correct.
Okay. But you said that that would put us to where we have to be for a 5.3%. Is that correct?
That is what Dr. Scallon is working on right now.
Okay. So,
sorry, just so those two pieces have to come together. So the 350 reduction to cover the medical expenses.
Correct.
And then the $70,000. So basically I'm looking at that whole package of reductions on slide 11.
Yep.
And taking out the $70,000 that's been allocated for the CDS consultant.
Okay.
So I want to still keep money in the budget to make sure that that happens.
So you're looking at a reduction of $423,424.
So, but it's not, it's like some of that money goes to the medical benefits to cover the medical benefits costs. And some of that money goes to taking things from this batch of reductions and moving it over to cover the costs of the calendar. So what is the tax
I'm
rate?
fine until you get to what you're moving where for the calendar. So I need clarity. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just restate this,
yes,
even probably simpler? So what Chair Lentz, I think, is proposing is to I'm going to think about which way to phrase this. Where it says on slide 18 to approve reductions of $350,969,000. Okay. That stays. Then the adjustments would be of $72,455. Okay. And then it would be to raise the property taxes, the property tax rate, $70,000 in addition. That's the proposed amendment.
Yes.
And the $70,000 is the covering
of the CDS consultant.
The consultant, but it's not covering, for some reason, it was covering the 2 days in the calendar.
That was my recommendation, but not what.
It basically just frees that money up to be used for other unexpected expenses. And right now we're naming those as the calendar expenses, but.
Can I ask again? Okay. So we're going to approve all of the reductions, the 350. Okay, and then we would leave the 142,455 there.
No.
No.
I'm going to put it up on the screen.
You want to explain to me, Ms.
Yeah,
Mondo?
so if I understand, can I just?
Yeah.
So that mean, if I understood the amendment on the floor, that mean for the 350 from the medical expenses, and then we going to have the 142 minus the 70 of the contractor services.
Okay, so we're going
The
to,
early childhood, so I think we're gonna have the remaining 72, right? 72, that's the one we need to trade off where the money will come out
coming from.
to cover the overall of the cost of the calendar, because the calendar is 65,000.
so we're putting the calendar back into the budget, putting it actually into the budget, whereas it was not in the budget now.
Yes.
So the amendment then is to decrease 350,969. And that's it, basically. I mean, you're leaving the rest of it in there because 70 of that 142 is going to be for the CDS, and the rest of it's going to be put into a budget item, calendar expenses. So really, the only thing we're doing is removing 350, 962, and that's what we're removing. The others are adjustments and making sure certain things happen.
No, that's okay. Superintendent Scallon, and then we'll take other questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
no,
I have it up on the screen because we got to be clear about what the baseline is. The baseline that you're making any adjustment from is what was approved by the Finance Committee.
Right.
Okay. The Finance Committee, when they approved 162,730, this top line. The proposed adjustments here, as I have it, would approve reductions of 350,969, and then we basically shift them from where they're listed currently in the budget to additional medical premiums. Second is, just for simple nature of this, it would approve doing the other adjustments minus the early childhood contract. And so the result would be that, depending on how you want to write it, it's either way. It's either approve adjustments of 142,000 and then increase the tax rate by $70,000 to cover the cost of the early childhood contracted consultant. And so the impact, if I have this right, on the starting spot of the budget that was approved by the Finance Committee is $70,000. The impact that has on a tax rate is, and this is again rounding to like hundredths, but it moves it to 5.33% as an increase. The actual cent increase still stays at 42 cents because it's in the rounding. So that is, as I understand it, the amendment. Does that make sense?
Board Member Opperman, does that make sense?
I think it's convoluted. I think it's a rather convoluted way of doing it.
I would agree.
I would.
That's where we're at.
I would rather see 3 amendments made, so rather than so it's really clear as to what we're doing. Is that possible?
Can we return to that question in just a second? I'm happy to entertain other discussion, and then we can go from there. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to reframe, just it helps me to sort of like say it again, and then you can correct me if I'm misunderstanding. And then I want to quickly address what Board Member Opperman just said, and then I also have a potential friendly amendment, and you can tell me if it's unfriendly. So my understanding is that if we're looking at slide 18, that is essentially saying health insurance premiums are more than we thought, and the calendar is going to cost more money than was reflected in the superintendent's budget. Those things total basically the equivalent of the reductions that we walked through. So if we took all of the reductions that have been described, then we would not have to change the tax levy that we're moving forward to the city council. And so Chair Lentz is then taking that and tweaking it by saying, but $70,000 of the reductions you don't agree with. So let's consider increasing the tax levy by that amount. Okay, so yes. So I see the value in moving it forward as one motion, because if we voted on each of them separately, some might pass and some might not pass. And so like the idea is to move it forward as a package. I understand that. The friendly amendment that, you can correct me if it's not a friendly amendment. I'm curious how you would like me to procedurally handle the fact that there's one other line item that I don't want to see move forward as a reduction, the special education line. So I would be in support of, Chair Lentz, I would be in support of your motion if it was not just the 70,000, but the 70,000 plus 73,250 getting added to the proposed tax levy. I don't know if you view that as a friendly amendment or not.
I think it's definitely a friendly amendment, but it's not one that I would like to accept.
Okay.
Yeah. Other discussion? Oh, thank you. Board Member Lena, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to echo what Board Member Bryden was saying. I think that we made an investment this year to do an audit of the special education programming, and I think it would be doing the district a disservice to not fully implement the recommendations, and then maybe, wonder why things aren't working out the way that we had hoped if we're not putting our investments where they're supposed to go.
And just a clarifying question for the superintendent, these reductions were based on advice from the consultants?
They were based on further conversation that came with our special education team about what was possible next year, with the idea of implementing the recommendations. That said, in a very early proposal, there were additional pieces that didn't come here. And so this came from our ask of our special education director of what's needed next year. And everything we put in front, I just want to be really transparent. Everything we put in front on the budget is something that was pressure tested and said, did it align with the strategic plan? And is it a good investment? And so there's nothing here we would say yeah, we really don't need that. But we recognize that there are hard decisions and hard trade-offs. And so this was when we went back to it, we had both a recommendation of an OT ad and a PT ad. So this is not a reduction of what we currently have, but we had a proposal to add both of those. And we said that based on our current staffing, we think we can go one more year without the additional PT, but it would be harder to do that with the OT, which is why the occupational therapist is not included here.
Thank you. That's helpful. And just because that line item also includes contracted services, to me, it doesn't feel like we're totally losing that investment. It's partially there. I agree that it's not fully what it could be, but that is just more of my thinking as to not accepting that friendly amendment. Board Member Opperman.
So essentially, the amendment is saying we want to increase the budget by $70,000. So why don't we just say that?
We can, but we could, but I think that if I would have started there, then everyone would have said, well, what is that for? And what are we cutting? And blah, 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 because that's the culture of this board, which is totally fine. I am happy to move to just talking about tax levies and dollars if we want to do it that way.
I understand.
Yes, but that's another way. I see that it clicked in your brain, so I'm glad that we got there. It's not a joke at you by any means, but
I know you're not. I know you're
okay.
Not. And I'm not.
We're good.
It just. I'm not supposed to say something. I'll hold for a second.
Okay.
So
So the,
yes, just have a question.
Yes.
With the 142,445 left over from subtracting the savings from the premiums, is it correct in thinking, can we say that money will be used to cover the 70,000 or no? Is that like the wrong, I don't know if that makes sense. Is that the wrong language, or we have to say we're increasing the tax levy instead of just saying that money left behind from the savings will be used for that? I don't know if that makes sense.
So I think there's multiple ways to do it, right? So at the end of the day, what the board is approving is what will be the local tax levy. That is what it is. And you're providing guidance to us on how to spend it and where it'll go. We know that earlier today we approved a calendar that we estimate will cost about $65,000 a day. And so if you were to just reduce it or adjust it without considering that, what will happen is it's like an unforeseen expense. And so if we went into July, August, we as staff would need to adjust the budget anyways to accommodate for what is a future cost on Yom Kippur and then on Eid that's not in the budget. And so that's where that happens.
and just another question, if we were to revert, and then I'll come to you, Board Member Ali, if we were to revert the special education costs, the actual cost would not be $73,000. It would be 120-ish, because we'd be going back to adding a full-time staff and a small amount of contracted services, correct?
Give me 1 second. I'm just going a little bit slower to make sure we have it exactly right.
Yeah.
No, the dollar amount you'd be reverting back, it'd be the 73,250. What we did there was we took from the proposed budget that one FTE and then proposed adding contracted to make up for that loss. And so if you were to go back, what we would do is we would add back the person, but we wouldn't need to also increase. Oh, the person's already there.
Right.
So it would just be the 73,250.
Did you have a question? Remember, Ali, go ahead.
Yeah. So for example, so number 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, you're telling us to pick and choose which one you're like, right, in a way?
Not right now.
I'm not saying that you have to pick and choose at all. So it could stand the way that it is. We don't have to make any reductions. We can make we don't have to choose from those pages, but that's what is being proposed to us.
But if we don't make the reductions, then we're going to be a negative, right?
If we don't make the reductions, then we have to do a trade-off somehow. So we could increase the tax levy or make cuts someplace else.
Okay, so is the request both the tax levy to be increased and the cuts?
Yes.
Thank you, that's it.
Yes, Board Member Bryden.
Thank you, Chair. Can I, just because of that last bit of conversation, I just want to confirm that the 73,250, you're still, it's a friendly amendment, and are you still saying, no, you don't want to include that in the motion that you're, okay.
Could you project the language again, Superintendent? You can make it. So just thinking about the other conversation about potentially making a simpler amendment, I think I would look to the board to see if we want to just move forward with the amendment Yes, actually, I'm just going to do that. So to increase the tax levy by whatever is equal to $70,000. I think it's like 0.03%-ish. Okay. Board Member Bryden and then Board Member Noor.
Didn't raise my hand, but thank you for seeing my face. Are you suggesting that the motion be modified so it is purely, I don't feel, I feel a level of discomfort with that, because wouldn't we need to explain what we're doing in the motion by acknowledging that what has moved from Finance Committee to the full board is being adjusted by X and by X, and so the result of that is the change to the tax levy?
I think legally we are responsible for explaining the full amount of dollars and the full amount of tax levy. I think it's yes, we have to like assign them to line items, but also knowing that things might shift.
Okay, so, and all of the details around the 350,000 and the 142,000 is on the record in this conversation. And we all are recognizing how we're landing at the increased proposed tax levy. Is that essentially what we're doing? Okay.
Yes. Board Member Apperman?
May I make a suggestion that the order in which it is written is changed so that there's an increase the tax rate by $70,000 and then say the improving these adjustments, and these adjustments. It's kind of lets people know right up front.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, we have to make it. Do we have to make it today?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, go ahead. Can you pull your mic down?
So with that adjustment, the tax levy will now go down to 5.33%, or it will stay at that 5.6.
It will be 5.33.
Okay, it's a 5.3. Okay. Proposed. Yep.
Can you say that into the microphone so everybody can hear?
Again, we need to think about what we're doing as the base. The base is what was approved by the Finance Committee. What was approved by the Finance Committee was what was on the screen a second ago. I don't have the exact tax levy on it, but it was a 5.3% increase. Again, these are estimated and will adjust as we talked about, but it was 5.3. Since you're now doing both additions and potential reductions. And so what Chair Lentz has proposed is increasing the tax rate by $70,000, or the overall tax levy. Let me use the correct language. The overall tax levy by $70,000. At the same time, Chair Lentz is suggesting moving $350,969 in previously budgeted expenses to medical premiums to offset the increase, and to move $72,455 to cover the calendar. Sort of
Okay, but this is 142,000. What's the 72,000? What's the difference?
It's like we got early childhood listed twice basically. So it's cut here and then added back here is basically what's happening there.
Okay.
Does that amendment feel better listing the 3 points? Board Member
Chair-
Bryden? Oh, I'm so sorry, Fatuma. Please go ahead, Board Member Noor.
I just have a clarifying question. With this now amendment, would we not be voting on the adjustments? Like we're not talking about those anymore?
In this
So we're-
proposed amendment, no.
Okay.
This is what is on the floor.
Okay.
If there will be opportunity after this amendment to talk about other adjustments, if people would like to, or other amendments that they want to bring forward.
Okay, so just to
Board Member
clarify,
Ali.
right now we are just trying to approve reduction and approve that. We are not going to pick from the options given.
Correct.
Okay, yes, okay, thank you.
All right. I think we might be ready for a vote on this amendment. So with that, Dr. Warren, if you could call roll, and the vote is to accept this amendment that is increasing the tax rate by $70,000 to cover the cost of an early childhood contracted consultant, which also includes approving reductions of $350,000, $969 in budgeted expenses to offset the increased medical premiums, and adjustments of $142,455 due to increased costs of the changed school calendar. So with that, please call the roll.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
No.
Student Representative Fitzgerald? Student Representative Kantiba? Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler? Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the amendment passes, the amendment passes with the students voting with the majority. So now the motion on the floor is amended. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Board Member Bryden.
I would like to move to increase the proposed tax levy by $73,250 to revert back the special education line item from slide 18 and essentially not avail ourselves of that proposed reduction.
Is there a second?
Right there.
Board Member Lena, any discussion on the amendment?
I just don't think I will vote for this amendment.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment?
Yes, I'm not going to vote for this amendment.
I would just like to see it written out because
You got it.
I like how.
Come in.
Oh yeah, I like how Ryan's doing it. It just makes it simple for me.
Thank you, Superintendent. When you're ready, if you could project it, that would be helpful.
Sorry, Mr. Scallon.
I work by Ryan.
Okay.
Quite cool.
All right, cool. I didn't know it's in public, you know.
Board Member Noor, go ahead.
Yes, another clarifying question. We haven't yet voted on all of the adjustments, but we are currently voting on just the special education one.
So so my amendment kind of like took into consideration all of the adjustments. There is not an official plan to go through the adjustments and say yes or no or vote on each of the adjustments. We're voting on amendments to the budget. So right now, the amendment that is on the floor is adding an additional 73,250 back for a physical therapist in to the tax levy. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I think, I mean, this is bringing us way backwards, but I think we should have maybe voted on them to clarify more what that amount was going towards. Because now I feel like we're voting on part of it. I don't know if this makes sense. It's unclear.
So that package, that amendment that was just passed took into consideration all of those proposed reductions.
Okay.
So the amendment that was passed was basically like an essentially yes, voting on all of those reductions with the exception of the CDS consultant.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And so now the motion that is on the floor the motion for this amendment that's on the floor is adding back the special education physical therapist cost.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Board Member Bryden, if you can just clarify this, I just want to confirm this. I believe you are, in your proposal, actually adding a physical therapist from what is now the standing and reducing contracted services by $25,000. That gets you to the 73,250 because the current standing is what was approved by finance plus the Lentz amendment, which basically took all of those things off, added $70,000 for CDS. And so now we don't have that physical therapist. And we've increased it contracted services.
Yes, the only thing, instead of hire, I would say add back. Is that
It's not
reflecting?
it's not a reduction
Okay.
of what
it's a-
currently, so it'd be
add
a
back
new
from your
staff member.
proposed budget.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, that works. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this amendment? Yes, Board Member Lena?
Dr. Scallon, can you tell us how this will affect the tax rate?
Yeah, so it moves the overall increase from what was initially approved by the Finance Committee, it increases it to $143,250, which would put the tax rate at approximately 5.4% of an increase, or the increase as a dollar per 1,000 is 43 cents.
And just to double check, you just said you built that on top of what the Finance Committee approved. Did you mean on top of the amendment that was just approved?
No, I didn't. The reason is because I said $143,250. So that is both your amendment that's already in, that's the 70, plus Board Member Bryden's 73,250.
Okay, great. Just making sure that that is stacked on top.
Yeah, I have another question. Continuous question. So, can you bring that up again?
Yeah, sorry, I'm like calculating things on the same time.
You good at math? Go ahead. I just want to know the difference between the 25,000 and 73,000. Why we would increase 73,000? Because a physical therapist. Oh wait, addition. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's the, if I'm understanding correctly, the 73,250 allows us to bring in the physical therapist and not spend $25,000 on contracted services.
Oh,
Can I help maybe?
yes.
So when we came forward to the board with some possible proposed reductions, one option was to reduce the cost of the physical therapist. But in order to make up for that, we added in 25,000 in contracted services to cover at least some of those services. If the board is putting this person back in as a potential employee that we would hire back into the budget that was proposed, then we would no longer need the consulting money, the contracted money.
Okay.
We don't need both a person and the contractor,
Okay.
one or the other. So if you put the person back in, the potential employee, then the contracted money can go away.
Okay. So how do we save more money? Which option?
The person costs more money.
Okay. So we'll just do the contract.
Unfortunately, that is not the amendment on the
Just to be clear, what you just said, Board Member Ali, if you voted against this amendment, I'm not advocating either way, just to be clear. That's not my job. I get to type in big font now. If you were to vote against this amendment, you would be keeping the contracted services in. You would not be adding the person.
One person, right?
And just to be clear, this is a person that does not currently work in Portland Public Schools. Right now, there are 3 physical therapists. The proposal, I'm just going to refer to it as the amendment. The amendment is proposing to hire and go to 4 physical therapists and reduce contracted services $25,000.
Okay. I'm going to refer to to everybody else. This one.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Just double check that I'm not missing Board Member Noor. Okay. So then we are going to vote on this, the Bryden Amendment. I like this, naming them by last names, which seeks to one more time? Can you put up the language so people know what they are voting on? Increase property tax by 73,250 and hire one additional physical therapist and reduce contracted services by 25,000. So with that, let's vote to accept this amendment. Dr. Warren, when you're ready.
Member Ali.
Can I vote last?
No,
Okay. Abstain, thank you.
well, but that, you can abstain, but you don't get another shot. That is your vote. So if you
Okay.
abstain, then you abstain.
That's it.
All right, 1 second. I abstain.
Member Yusra Ali.
No.
Vice Chair Bondo.
No.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
No.
Student Representative Fitzgerald. Student Representative Kantiba. Student Representative Lee. Student Representative O'Brien.
No.
Student Representative Ziegler. Chair Lentz.
I am voting against this amendment, which makes the vote for sorry, what was that? Makes 3 votes for the accepting the amendment, 4 votes against, and 1 abstaining. And I actually need to check the procedural rules to understand if this passes. Yes, of course. So with only 3 yeses, it does not pass. Is the 4 against? Yeah. We are really putting ourselves through the paces tonight, everyone.
All good.
Hang in there. Yeah,
all
we're
good.
getting this is building good board muscle. Are there any other amendments that would like to come to the floor? Okay, so then we're going to take a quick break just to get the numbers correctly and the tax levy correct so that we can read the motion that's on the floor into the record and we're all super clear on what that is. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come right back at 10:20. Okay, so we have an amended motion on the floor. So I'm going to give us the specific numbers of that amended motion. So by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to recommend fiscal year 2026 school budget to City Council, which includes a tax levy of $1,027,225,979, which translates to a tax levy of 5.33%. With an overall local budget of $162,800,974. Dr. Warren, when you're ready.
Member
Just
Ali.
to be clear, this is accepting the last amendment.
Yes.
I didn't read it right. I did. Okay, sorry. Let me, I read the numbers incorrectly. If I could just redo those. Apologies, everyone. Board Member Opperman, yes.
We're voting on the whole budget as amended.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I would like to read that again, just to get the right numbers in the record. So please indicate whether you're in favor of the consideration and action to recommend fiscal year 2026 school budget to the City Council, which includes a tax levy of $127,225,979, which is a percentage of 5.33%, with an overall local budget of $162,800,974. So Dr. Warren, will you call the roll?
Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald, Student Representative Kantiba, Student Representative Lee, Student Representative O'Brien, Student Representative Ziegler, Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously. Student representatives have gone home to sleep, which is great. And then so congratulations, we just passed our budget onto City Council. Good work, everyone. Thank you for the applause, union leadership. That means a lot. Thank you. And so up next, we have a couple of personnel items.
Thank you. Two personnel items this evening. The first one is requesting board approval of a probationary position for a half-time social worker for our pre-K program.
Beautiful. So I would be looking for the motion for the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed. Election of teacher candidates probationary. Board Member Opperman, is there a second? Board Member Ali. Are there any questions on the motion? We don't take public comment on personnel issues. Any discussion from the board? Okay, then seeing none by roll call vote, please indicate your acceptance of this consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed. Election of teacher candidates probationary.
Member Ali.
Here.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
Yes.
Student representatives have left. Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes. And then up next, we have the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed. Election of administrators. I'm sorry, I did it again.
No, just working together. So yes, this is assistant principal to support Deering High School, as our student rep had shared earlier. Both assistant principals are currently out, so this is bringing in one of the teachers on a remainder of the school year basis to fill that vacancy.
Thank you. So I'd be looking for a motion for the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed. Election of administrators. Board Member Ali. Is there a second? Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions on this motion? Okay, seeing none, there's no public comment. Any board discussion? Okay, then please indicate by roll call vote, please indicate if you are in favor of this consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed. Election of administrators. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor. Member
Yes.
Noor. Member Opperman.
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we got you.
thank you. The student representatives have left the room. Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously. And then finally, I'd be looking for a motion for the consideration and action to adjourn the business meeting. Board Member Opperman, is there a second? Thank you. Board Member Ali. All those in favor? We are adjourned at 10:28.
Good night.